Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560. The Answer.
When life ends, your legacy begins. Ensure your legacy lives on at Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties. Take advantage of 0% financing, lock in today's prices, and safeguard yourself against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
This is Sean Thompson, and I'm proud to tell you about the great work of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, a new partner of ours here at AM 560. Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. When a first responder or military service member doesn't come home and young children are left behind, Tunnel to Towers pays the mortgage on the family home to lift the financial burden and bring stability. For catastrophically injured veterans and first responders, Tunnel to Towers builds mortgage-free smart homes, giving our most severely injured heroes the ability to live more independent lives. You can help America's heroes and their families by supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation when you make a small donation of just $11 a month. Go to T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. T2T.org.
Barbecue bags and brews sound great right about now. But are you really ready to entertain on that dirty, oil-stained driveway or patio? No oil stain removal is too big or too small for Cabino Environmental. Whether you're a homeowner or a business owner, you can use Cabino Oil Stain Remover. It's a safe, effective, and powerful oil stain lifting formula. This is not the same stuff you buy at the big box store. This is a concentrated, all-natural stain lifter that goes deep into the concrete or brick for superior cleaning. Simply pour it on the soiled area, let it dry, and then brush away. Start your cleanup at CabinoEnvironmental.com. The Cabino Environmental Response Team will come to your rescue across Northern Illinois and the Milwaukee area. And you can purchase the Cabino Oil Stain Remover online and have it shipped anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. Can't wait? Cabino Oil Stain Remover is also now available at your local Rental Max.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
When you're in the market to buy or sell a home, commercial property, or even vacant land, let attorney Susan J. Kim step in. She's reliable, responsive, personable, and extremely thorough when helping you deal with an otherwise stressful transaction. Attorney Kim leads with her values and is committed to providing legal services with excellence. To contact Attorney Kim, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com. Whether it's drafting agreements, negotiating contract terms, or closing on a property, Attorney Susan J. Kim can do it all. Over 10 years of experience and her wealth of knowledge tackling complicated legal negotiations and breaking them down into a smooth, easy-to-understand process is what she does best. So let attorney Susan J. Kim step in. To schedule your legal consultation today, visit sjkimlaw.com. That's sjkimlaw.com or call 847-906-3166. Susan J. Kim Attorney at Law is a state of Illinois licensed real estate attorney.
Ever notice how most people never leave online reviews unless they're really mad? And they want the entire world to know how bad their experience was. Rick from Forever Remodeling here, and we average 4.8 stars on 144 Google reviews. I know what you're thinking. Sure, 132 people gave you 5 stars, but what about those 12 who didn't? Glad you asked. 3 of them are 1-star reviews from people we never even did business with. Most of the rest are 4-star reviews from people who loved us and said things like, "We are thrilled and would recommend Forever Remodeling to anyone." So why only 4 stars? One customer sums it up, "I only gave 4 stars because I never give 5. Fair enough, I guess. Google foreverremodeling.com and see for yourself. The reviews are all right there. We do kitchens, baths, basements, whole homes, and additions. Check us out at foreverremodeling.com or call 847-809-3355. That's foreverremodeling.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J today, as he has been all week. Former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
On the home stretch.
It's been a great week, and boy, we end with a bang, thanks to the Supreme Court overturning affirmative action considerations with respect to college admissions. This is the long-awaited opinion in the Harvard and North Carolina admissions cases. Chief Justice Roberts, writing for the majority, 6-3. The Harvard and UNC admissions programs cannot be reconciled with the guarantees of the Equal Protection Clause. Both programs lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives warranting the use of race, unavoidably employ race in a negative manner involving racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints. We have never permitted admissions programs to work in that way, and we will not do so today. Eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line, getting your reactions to this momentous decision. Charles, we'll start with you since you're right here with us.
Well, obviously, I've given this quite a bit of thought over these last, 24 hours. Dan, I would not be sitting here with you this morning had it not been for an affirmative action program at the University of Missouri, where I attended and graduated from the journalism school. Not too long before I enrolled at Mizzou, the place was segregated. I mean, they actually actively did whatever they could to keep black students from attending school there. In fact, there was a landmark court decision involving that, whole separate but equal piece. Then my first job at a country western radio station, believe it or not.
They had both kinds of music, country and western.
Yeah, country and western in Kansas City, Missouri, which, like other broadcast outlets in 1973, were under an FCC mandate to have affirmative action programs. I got my first job there. I was the first black reporter at this place. So I understand what was happening in the country at that time. The country was trying to correct 100 years during which black Americans were denied equal protection under the law. And, I owe something to that effort. I think I was qualified to work there, but my father would not have been able to do that, nor my grandfather, because they had been, discriminated against by law. So the question, I think, is 60 years, 3 generations later, do we still need affirmative action programs? Well, that's, I think, the essence of the debate here. But you have to understand what happened, too, to the affirmative action programs, which were a direct response in the 1960s, I say, to Jim Crow. Now, since then, now we have women, white women, who are claiming to be victims of whatever. Black people are no longer considered a special class. We are now people of color.
You've been joined by many other designated
so-called
classes.
victims.
Yeah.
And I think everything has become very fuzzy. And we even have disabled people now demanding affirmative action or to be part of a victim class. And it's all very confusing, but I think the whole question of whether or not 3 generations later, do we still need affirmative action programs? Now, keep in mind, we were denied our equal protection for 100 years after the 14th Amendment was ratified. It's been 60 years since we've had the affirmative action programs. And I think a lot of politicians, particularly Democrat politicians, have included all these other people in this effort to heal America's original sin or to respond to it because they want to increase their tent, so to speak.
Well, solidarity and marginality.
Right.
Even when it's not real.
Telling everybody that they're a victim. And I think it's led us to this point. We also have to have the realization that at some point in time for this country to survive in the long term, we have to understand that or hope or pray that we don't need affirmative action anymore. That's the ideal in America. That's what the 14th Amendment says. And I was working in California when Alan Bakke filed the case against the first anti-affirmative action case. I remember going to the University of California at Davis and interviewing people about it. So this issue about the 14th Amendment has always been there. And everybody, you got to know that at some point, you're going to lose. Affirmative action is going to be thrown out because the Constitution is very, very explicit about that. Also there's equal protection under the law.
Right. I mean, so there's that. And then there's also just sort of the principle that undergirds the Equal Protection Clause, which is, and by the way, this was something recognized by a lot of great thinkers through the annals of Western civilization, including Frederick Douglass, who opposed a racial benefit system because he understood that today's beneficiary can be tomorrow's oppressed. So he obviously, being a slave, he went through that. He didn't want the government in the business of conferring benefits and imposing responsibilities based on race. So he was well ahead of his time, and also just such a profound thinker that he could think about these things philosophically despite the horrific experience that he endured. And I guess the question to me is more simple. I agree with you. I don't think you can strip out the historical context. So what was going on at the time some of these programs were moved to remedy institutionalized wrongs. But it's come down to that simple idea. Do you want a society where benefits are conferred by the government and responsibilities are imposed by the government based on race, based on sex, based on sexual orientation, based on gender identity, and so on and so forth now as we've gotten down this road that you were just describing? And, part of this is really interesting because you said the same thing that Michelle Obama said in a sense. She issued this statement. Back in college, I was one of the few black students on my campus at Princeton. And I was proud of getting into such a respected school. I knew I worked hard for it. But still, I sometimes wondered if people thought I got there because of affirmative action. It was a shadow that students like me couldn't shake, whether those doubts came from the outside or inside our own minds. But the fact is, I belonged. And then she went on to talk about how her heart breaks over this decision by the Supreme Court. But there's that piece that Thomas Sowell wrote about for multiple generations, prolific as he was, actually still is, that the shadow it casts and the conference of benefits by race and imposition of responsibilities by extension by race. I mean, that's just fundamentally at odds with the notion of America as enshrined in our founding documents, as enshrined in the Equal Protection Clause, as you mentioned. And it just can't stand. And to the extent that we're always looking to our future in the rearview mirror is the extent that we never live up to the promise of America. For all the talk about living up to the promise of America, we can't do it by looking in the rearview mirror. We can learn from what we did, right and wrong, but I don't see how we go back and say this is all fruit of this poisonous tree of slavery, of Jim Crow, and it just extends in perpetuity regardless of the evidence. It's just sort of supposed to be taken as accepted truth that everything that we see in society today directly relates to the victimization of people generations ago.
Well, I don't see this ruling yesterday as stopping black progress at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that at all. In fact, I see more to celebrate than I do to bemoan. Absolutely. I mean, and I think we can't take this as the death knell of black progress. Absolutely not. This was, I don't know if it was really a setback. It was going to happen. I think I what you just said it. The ideal of the country is, and that 14th Amendment is there, and this affirmative action was put in place despite the 14th Amendment, and these arguments have been there for the last 50, 60 years against it. And this court, which is a more conservative court, it did away with it. And I think what we really have to be concerned about at this point is how does this court affect what it's saying about the public sector? How will it affect the private sector? That's a question.
We'll pick that up at 5:38. Take your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, getting reaction to the Supreme Court's decision striking down affirmative action in college admissions yesterday. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
531, 72 muggy degrees this morning. And a record amount of air travel is expected over this long 4th of July weekend. Tom Costello, the latest at the airport.
Today is the day. We are expecting a record number of passengers post-November 2019, 2.8 million people, according to the TSA.
AAA projects more than 50 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home. The group that sued to overturn affirmative action practices in college admissions had high praise for the court for ruling in its favor.
A university doesn't have real diversity when it simply assembles students who look different but come from similar backgrounds.
Founder and president of Students for Fair Admissions, Edward Bloom. South Carolina Senator and presidential hopeful Tim Scott, who is black, said the ruling was long overdue.
This is the day where we understand that being judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin, is what our Constitution wants.
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker called it a devastating blow. A federal judge rejecting Donald Trump's bid to dismiss a defamation lawsuit from New York columnist E. Jean Carroll. The U.S. considering sending cluster munitions to Ukraine. They've been requesting that since last year. 100 have died in Mexico over the past 3 weeks as a heat wave pushed temperatures above 120. Google says it will block all links to news stories by Canadian media outlets once a new law takes effect. The tech giant said on Thursday it will block Canadian news articles for users in Canada in response to the law that requires tech companies to pay publishers for content. The Sun-Times is reporting the search for Chicago's next top cop has been narrowed to 6 candidates. As Independence Day approaches, Illinois' neighboring states continue to see a heavy flow of Illinoisans crossing the border to buy fireworks. Illinois is one of only 3 states that bans some or all fireworks. As a result, fireworks stands in Wisconsin, Missouri, Iowa, and Indiana see a lot of business coming their way. Chris Brunson is with Mark's Fireworks in Evansville, Indiana, and says they see a steady stream coming over the border.
We do. We got a location in Vincennes that gets tons of Illinois business. Our store on the west side as well. So yes, we do. But we get plenty of locations in Indiana that gets traffic from the closest parts of Illinois. Absolutely.
Sherry Cheesewright owns Sherry's Fireworks, also in Indiana.
I bring them in from, my gosh, Charleston, Decatur, Champaign. Last night, guys drove an hour and a half, a town I hadn't even heard of. So once they find me, they tend to come back here.
Since 1942, Illinois' Pyrotechnic Use Act prohibits residents from buying or using fireworks unless they are novelty fireworks like smoke bombs or sparklers. Violating the Illinois law could mean a fine of up to $2,500. Yesterday's powerful storms left a path of destruction across central Illinois. Champaign's Willard Airport sustained heavy damage. Springfield Mayor Misty Buscher has issued a local state of emergency this morning. White Sox beat the Angels 9-7 in Anaheim. Cubs on a 4-game losing streak following a 3-1 loss to the Phillies. Blackhawks bring in an MVP, the team trading for forward Corey Perry in a deal with Tampa Bay yesterday. The news service of MyPillow. Big news, the brand new MyPillow 2.0 is buy one, get one free with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager says it's time to get informed.
Ignorance is a sin. When bad things are happening, ignorance is willful. If you don't know what Disney is doing to everything associated with children, you have decided to tune out and let others fight.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, everybody. Charlie Kirk here. Freedom Square is an unbelievable service designed to unite freedom-loving Americans. I know these guys. They love their country, and they're doing an amazing job. You can log on now to create your free personalized dashboard. All of your favorite news sites, podcasters, all on one site, all at your fingertips. Sign up your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with freedom-loving Americans. Look, people want businesses they can support. You want to know the good guys from the bad guys. That's freedomsquare.com. Log on right now and create your personalized dashboard. Join us in the fight, so check it out. freedomsquare.com. Freedom lives here.
Let's welcome our new Freedom Square Business Network members, Reputation Partners, theflagshirt.com, USA Pay Network, and Bigger Chevrolet. It's time to unite and vote with your dollars. Download the Freedom Square app and register your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with patriots. Freedom Square. Freedom lives here.
Are you looking for a place to worship and grow your faith in the Chicago area? Are you looking to serve alongside other believers? Quentin Road Baptist Church can help. We're located in Lake Zurich, Illinois, and our doors are open to all. We welcome you to join us on Sunday mornings at 11 for a time of fellowship and worship. At Quentin Road Baptist Church, you'll find a community of believers who are dedicated to seeking, studying, and sharing the Word of God. Our pastor, Jim Scudder Jr., delivers powerful and inspiring messages that will encourage you in your spiritual journey. The music is uplifting, the people are friendly, and God is at work. So come join us this Sunday at Quentin Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois. For more information, go to ingraceradio.com or call us at 800-78-GRACE. Again, that's 11 a.m. at the Quentin Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois. That's ingraceradio.com or call us at 800-78-GRACE.
.538, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time. Inbound Kennedy at 33 O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. You are jammed up inbound between Chicago and the Circle. Ike on the inbound side at about 27 minutes. Inbound from 390 to the old post office. The inbound Dan Ryan, 16 in from 95th, but it's the outbound side you need to pay attention to. The outbound side of the Dan Ryan is completely shut down between the Burns Circle and Roosevelt. Traffic is diverted off onto the outbound Ike as they continue to investigate a much earlier serious accident. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. More clouds than sun today. Pop-up thunderstorms cannot be ruled out, and a high of 91. 72 at O'Hare, 69 Lakefront. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter, and we were talking about the momentous Supreme Court decision striking down affirmative action in college admissions yesterday. The big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, not happy with it, and so he, through his handlers, of course, had a ready-made workaround. We look at this through the prism of adversity now. Don't think about diversity. Use adversity as a cover for diversity to end run the decision.
Today, the court once again walked away from decades of precedent and as the dissent has made clear. The dissent states in today's decision, quote, rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress, end of quote. I agree with that statement from the dissent. The court has effectively ended affirmative action in college admissions, and I strongly disagree with the court's decision. Many people wrongly believe that affirmative action allows unqualified students to be admitted ahead of qualified students. This is not how college admissions work. Rather, colleges set out standards for admission, and every student has to meet those standards. Then and only then, after first meeting the qualifications required by the school, do colleges look at other factors in addition to their grades, such as race. Well, I've always believed that one of the greatest strengths of America, you're tired of hearing me say it, is our diversity. But I believe that. If you have any doubt about this, just look at the United States military. The finest fighting force in the history of the world. It's been a model of diversity. And has not only made our nation better, stronger, but safer. I believe the same is true for our schools. I've always believed that the promise of America is big enough for everyone to succeed, and that every generation of Americans, we have benefited by opening the doors of opportunity just a little bit wider to include those who've been left behind. I believe our colleges are stronger when they're racially diverse. Our nation is stronger because we are tapping into the full range of talent in this nation. We cannot let this decision be the last word. I want to emphasize, we cannot let this decision be the last word. While the court can render a decision, it cannot change what America stands for. America is an idea unique in the world, an idea of hope and opportunity, of possibilities, of giving everyone a fair shot, of leaving no one behind. We've never fully lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it either. We will not walk away from it now. We should never allow the country to walk away from the dream upon which it was founded. That opportunity is for everyone, not just a few. We need a new path forward, a path consistent with a law that protects diversity and expands opportunity. They should not abandon, let me say this again, they should not abandon their commitment to ensure student bodies of diverse backgrounds and experience that reflect all of America. What I propose for consideration is a new standard, where colleges take into account the adversity a student has overcome when selecting among qualified applicants. Let's be clear, under this new standard, just as was true under the earlier standard, students first have to be qualified applicants. Because the truth is, we all know it, discrimination still exists in America. Discrimination still exists in America. Discrimination still exists in America. Today's decision does not change that. It's a simple fact. If a student had to overcome adversity on their path to education, the college should recognize and value that.
Adversity, not diversity. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Adversity, not diversity. That's the end run around the ruling. Discrimination still exists in America. Discrimination still exists in America. Let me say it a third time. Discrimination still exists in America. That was the overriding point. Right. That's what the court found. Discrimination was existing in the college admissions process when institutions like Harvard were noxiously lowering the character scores, artificially lowering the character scores of Asian applicants because they didn't want so many Asian students, disproportionately high share of Asian students as a percentage of the student population. That wouldn't be tolerated in any other situation.
And I tell you, it just really bothers me that we're so focused in this conversation on Harvard.
Yeah,
I mean, what is it? The percentage is infinitesimal of students that are going to attend Harvard.
Right.
Let's talk about Eastern, Western Illinois and those kinds of schools that are most accessible to most people. The University of Illinois system, comparing those schools, that's where the rubber meets the road in this conversation.
Well, that's true, but the principle still applies.
Yeah, the principle applies, but the fact of the matter is, I think
discrimination. What about discrimination? Still exists in America. Discrimination still exists in America, Charles, and that's why we need to continue race-based admissions policies.
And let me ask you, since I'm not white, have white people changed at all? Do you think in the last 30, 40 years? I mean, you're a young guy. You don't go back as far as me, but man, why do I think that America has changed a lot since when I was growing up? I was born in the 50s. As he was a young person in the 60s and 70s, young student, and man, I think that
some things have transpired over the years. Yeah,
and that it seems like he doesn't want to concede. Discrimination is still in America. Yeah, of course it is, and it will be 50 years from now. There'll be some discrimination, but to compare it as though, to talk about it as though it's 1955 in Money, Mississippi, is just so divisive. It really is, and for the President of the United States to say stuff like that, man, really does not speak well of this country. I mean, you got to be positive about the country that you lead.
Well, I mean, to your point, again, who was suing, or on behalf of whom were these cases brought? Was it black students denied admission to colleges? No, it was mostly Asian students who were being discriminated against because, as in the case of Harvard, they were overperforming relative to the desired demographic distribution of the student body by Harvard admissions officials.
Yeah, and
I mean that's you were talking about getting a University of Missouri and affirmative action back when you were coming of age, but that's not, you're not the target. To the extent that there was institutional exclusion of blacks in particular, minorities less, but more generally, less so, other than blacks. Well, that's not what we're talking about today. And so it's interesting, too, to read some of the reactions. New York Times, the Supreme Court rejected affirmative action at Harvard and UNC, North Carolina. The major ruling curtails race-conscious college admissions in the U.S., all but ensuring that elite institutions become whiter and more Asian and less black and Latino. Well, why would that be?
Yeah, why would that be?
Because, I mean, even to the extent that occurs, and because they should, what do? Obviously, they look at the academic achievement gap, reading and math score gaps at the K through 12 level, and they say, well, this is going to now impact who attends which colleges. So some colleges may get whiter or more Asian, and others may not. But why is that? Is that because there's institutional discrimination against kids at the K through 12 level? Yes, to some extent there is. And it's being perpetrated by Joe Biden and the teachers' unions by preventing black and Latino kids to have the same opportunities at the K through 12 level.
Yeah, that's the rest of the story that they aren't really telling. And it's playing out right here in Chicago with...
the repeal of the tax credit scholarships here.
Exactly. There you go.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. But it's a good point you make. Do we still have... Orville Faubus's running around preventing black kids from going to the schoolhouse? I don't think so.
Orville Faubus, Lester Maddox,
all
those guys, man. All those good Democrats.
Right? Yeah, right. Good Southern Democrats. Yeah, that's right. But the point you make is an important one because it is purposeful on the left to pretend that 2023 America is still 1965 Selma everywhere, not just in Selma. Ron, Southside, on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. Couple of things, guys. It always disturbs me when people make that comment about what Dr. King said, character, the contents of character, not color. But they refuse to read his last book. Read his last book. Where do we go from here? Community or chaos? And this is what he said. I have the book here. He said because something special was done against the Negro. He didn't say people of color, people of different. He said that there must be something done special for him. And I'm just going to be honest, white folks, that context of care, but I look at what a person was at the end of their life, lastly. And that's what he said. Go to the library and get the book. Also in the book, this is what he said. No, this country doesn't want, you all just mentioned the gov. He said, this country doesn't want to show black people being shot down, like, what's his name? George Floyd. He said they don't want to show that. That's inhumane. He said then, but they are not truly committed to treating the Negro equal. And again, I want people to go read the book because they want to quote Dr. King on that contents of character. He said it then, and Charles, you said you hope the day comes when you don't need affirmative action. That was 60-some years ago. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. And it's not going to happen. So, yes, things are good. Yeah, they're not shooting black folks down. But to ignore that there isn't systemic racism, well, I'm not that naive and I'm not that ignorant to believe that.
Well, Ron, what form does, quote-unquote, systemic racism take today? Where does systemic racism
in the banking industry? The Department of Justice came out with a report a couple of weeks ago, Dan, of in the state where the George Floyd incident occurred, where it showed that the black people were pulled over, just the whole thing. So you in the banking industry, you read constantly how black people with the same credit scores are denied a mortgage that a white person. So don't pretend, Dan. Come on now. Don't pretend that it doesn't happen, okay?
Thanks for the call, Ron. I don't pretend that instances of discrimination occur. I mean, it's always going to be that way to some extent because people are flawed. We're all sinners, and some people are more ignorant than others.
Yeah, there's systemic racism, absolutely. But I think the question is, and as you say, there will always be systemic racism and whatever the other kinds are. Does it stop you from accomplishing your goal? Does it stop you? Does it make life miserable for you? I think that there is an opportunity now that did not exist 60 years ago, and certainly not 100 years ago. There are opportunities out there, and you have to remain positive about the opportunities. You can't tell our young people that they are forever victims. Man, what a horrible thing to say.
I know for sure. I haven't read the report that Ron from the South Side was referencing, but I find it hard to believe that there are institutions that are systemically, meaning as an approach to the marketplace. That's what systemic means. As an approach to the marketplace, they are attempting to exclude blacks, particularly in corporate America, where they are fully on board with identitarian politics, counting by race, with their diversity officers and their racial sensitivity training sessions and so on and so forth. I find that very hard to reconcile.
And in this age of artificial intelligence, I mean, are we? Is this? How is this systemic racism manifest there?
Yeah, this all this like racism. There's an incident where a white guy treats a black guy badly. Systemic racism. There's people don't get along and don't like other people for all sorts of reasons. People don't like me because I'm a conservative. And so I don't know. I went to apply for a job, and I'm out and proud conservative, and the guy who owns the company is a leftist, and he doesn't want to hire conservatives. Think of Fortune 500 for starters. So is that systemic discrimination? No, it's not. And that's a belief system. Is that more or less important than your skin color? Think about this from a larger perspective too. I mean, the way that you penalize the racist in the great Milton Friedman formulation is through the marketplace and through culture. The racist shoe store owner who will only hire whites loses out to the shoe store owner who hires the most qualified, the best salesman, regardless of color, and the market punishes the racist. So, I mean, we had Brown v. Board of Education, and you had the Civil Rights Movement, and other advancements. And, yeah, so you have a Supreme Court decision, you pass the Voting Rights Act. Does everything change overnight? No, because now you need cultural buy-in. But that's the point that you were making, Charles, is 50, 60 years later, we have cultural buy-in. And now the pendulum is swinging the other way because the left still wants to play this game of conferring benefits and imposing responsibilities based on race. And if you want to continue to do that, then you never get out of this trap. And it's all power politics all the time. It's balkanizing people by race or other specialty class designations that produce benefits for them and impose responsibilities on others. And it's going to be an identity-driven free-for-all. That's the kind of society you want? The Supreme Court said no. And it was a positive first step in my view.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. The Supreme Court just ruled on the Harvard affirmative action case, as well as a similar one involving higher education. But this isn't just about higher ed. This will be an earthquake in the world of corporate DEI, the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Companies that promise numerical outcomes, quotas essentially, for race and gender for their employees are going to find themselves on the defense in the court of public opinion and in actual courts as well. When the court reaffirmed the Constitution's requirement for equal protection for all persons, it put reverse discrimination on legal notice. This puts companies that embrace these social engineering programs based on race instead of merit in a vulnerable position. The corporations that abandoned equality, treating everyone the same, in favor of equity, forcing certain outcomes, took a foolish risk. The new SCOTUS ruling shows just how foolish that risk was. The Supreme Court got it right. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
You can't live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, with 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, to set their legacies in stone. A prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteryChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
WIND, Chicago.
They are the final rulings. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The ones we expect today from the Supreme Court at the end of its term.
You have Biden v. Nebraska and the Department of Education v. Brown. They questioned the president's authority to issue up to $20,000 in student debt relief. The final pending case has to do with a Christian graphic artist who has argued their right to refuse making wedding websites for same-sex couples.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff. This after the big ruling ending affirmative action in college admissions, a decision praised by Republicans running for president like Ron DeSantis. The Florida governor tells Fox,
"We judge on merit. We're not going to try to divvy you up by your skin color. That is the absolute appropriate decision for the country, and we're going to be much better off."
President Biden says this is not a normal court, telling MSNBC.
What I meant with that is it's done more to unravel basic rights and basic decisions than any court in recent history.
There's a new Fox News poll showing a lot of pessimism.
Right now, just 11% of poll respondents feel they are getting ahead in this economy. While not a majority, most who were surveyed, 45% feel they're falling behind. In fact, 68% of people say they aren't satisfied with how things currently are in the U.S.
Fox's Gernal Scott, a California task force on paying reparations to descendants of slaves, has issued a final report.
It aims to provide a roadmap for how California can atone for slavery, despite it never being legal in the state. But while many expected the report to call for a concrete dollar amount, the task force is leaving that challenge to the legislature. Instead, it provides over 115 recommendations.
Fox Business Network's Kelly O'Grady. A lot of Americans are going somewhere in what's predicted to be record 4th of July travel, but it's already been a rough week at airports. More than 6,000 flights canceled because of storms and air traffic control shortages.
This is chaos. This isn't organized chaos. This is just chaos.
He's in Houston. People have had a hard time rebooking flights and finding luggage. America's listening to
72 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Sun-Times reporting the search for Chicago's next top cop has been narrowed down to 6 candidates. More than 50 apparently applied for the job. As Independence Day approaches, Illinois' neighboring states continue to see a steady flow of Illinoisans crossing the border to buy fireworks. Illinois is only one of 3 states that bans some or all fireworks. So, Chris Brunson with Mark's Fireworks in Indiana says at all of their locations, They see a steady stream of Illinois license plates.
We do. We got a location Vincennes that gets tons of Illinois business. Our store on the west side as well. So yes, we do. But we get plenty of locations in Indiana that gets traffic from the closest parts of Illinois. Absolutely.
Whether Illinois' gun and magazine bans are constitutional is now up to a federal appeals court. The consolidated cases challenging state and local and gun and magazine bans was heard Thursday by a 3-judge panel at the 7th Circuit. Illinois Deputy Solicitor General Sarah Hunger argued to the court the bans on semi-automatic firearms are constitutional.
Assault weapons are virtually identical weapons to M16s, but for one thing, which is that M16s can use automatic fire instead of semi-automatic fire. And I'm sure that is a distinction, but it is not one that's constitutionally determinative.
It could be months before a ruling is issued. Whatever the decision, it is expected to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. A Chicago police officer is being praised for a daring water rescue in Lake Michigan Thursday. Officer Joanna Teese responded to a call about a woman in the water near the 18th District.
4 minutes is a long time. The lady, I believe, was out there for 15 to 20 minutes already. So I decided that it's time for me to jump in. I looked at one of my coworkers. We signaled to each other. I jumped in.
The officer reached the woman, was able to stabilize her and keep her above water until fire department water rescue marine units arrived. White Sox had 6 in the 3rd inning and go on to beat the Angels in Anaheim, 9-7. Cubs fall to the Phillies at Wrigley Field, 3-1. Bulls retaining All-Star center Andre Drummond, who's accepting his player option and will be back with the Bulls. The news service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Charlie Kirk Show.
What information did Trump even share with the reporter? He seems to have literally just briefly flashed some papers. The reporter didn't even get a copy. They didn't get to read it. The big picture fact is that it's ludicrous to menace President Trump with 100 years in prison over this garbage. And that's what it is. This is garbage.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE, Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
Want some wins? Wintrust Community Banks is proud to be ranked #1 in customer satisfaction with personal banking in Illinois by J.D. Power. That's one win. And we did it for the 2nd year in a row. That's a win-win. And you can now earn even more interest with our new savings rates. That's a win-win-win. To get your savings some wins, visit wintrust.com/locknewrates today. That's wintrust.com/locknewrates. Members FDIC. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
This is Mike Gallagher. Sign up today for an unforgettable experience in Israel this October. Dennis Prager and I are traveling to the Holy Land on the Stand With Israel tour with our trusted partner, Inspiration Cruises and Tours. This is a trip of a lifetime. You don't want to miss it. Register today before it's too late. Visit standwithisraeltour.com, standwithisraeltour.com, or call 855-565-5519, 855-565-5519. And together, let's stand with Israel.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. The Supreme Court just ruled on the Harvard Affirmative Action case, as well as a similar one involving higher education. But this isn't just about higher ed. This will be an earthquake in the world of corporate DEI. the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Companies that promise numerical outcomes, quotas essentially, for race and gender for their employees are going to find themselves on the defense in the court of public opinion and in actual courts as well. When the court reaffirmed the Constitution's requirement for equal protection for all persons, it put reverse discrimination on legal notice. This puts companies that embrace these social engineering programs based on race instead of merit in a vulnerable position. The corporations that abandoned equality, treating everyone the same, in favor of equity, forcing certain outcomes, took a foolish risk. The new SCOTUS ruling shows just how foolish that risk was. The Supreme Court got it right. I'm Jerry Boyer.
It is 6:08. Let's get a check of the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound on the Kennedy, right now we're sitting at 38 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Icon at 39 to the Old Post Office. Stevenson inbound 26 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Outbound Stevenson, an accident with a right lane block. Again, it's outbound on the Stevenson County line to Route 83 is your big trouble spot. Outbound Dan Ryan remains closed between the Burns Circle and Roosevelt because of a bad, much earlier accident. As the investigation continues, all traffic is diverted off onto the outbound Eisenhower. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
More clouds than sun. It'll be humid. Afternoon thunderstorm around the area today. Distant wildfires causing poor air quality. High today 91. Thunderstorm in spots tonight, low 72. A thunder shower tomorrow, the high near 83. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
A dense fog advisory is going up for several parts, especially the south and western suburbs of our listening area. 72 at O'Hare. Next news at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas. We've been discussing the Supreme Court decision ending affirmative action in college admissions. I mean, at least in theory. I don't think it's actually going to occur, at least uniformly in practice, but it was a statement of principle opposed to using race as a basis for admission in colleges and universities. And we're taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. I just want to read this passage from Frederick Douglass, since I invoked him earlier in the show. This is from a speech he gave in 1865 before the annual meeting of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society, just before the end of the Civil War. And it was entitled, What the Black Man Wants. And in that speech, Frederick Douglass said, "The American people have always been anxious to know what they shall do with us. I've had but one answer from the beginning. Do nothing with us. Your doing with us has already played the mischief with us. Do nothing with us. If the apples will not remain on the tree of their own strength, if they are worm-eaten at the core, if they are early ripe and disposed to fall, let them fall. And if the Negro cannot stand on his own legs, let him fail also. All I ask is give him a chance to stand on his own legs. Let him alone. Your interference is doing him positive injury." Is it time to apply that ethos to the country writ large? All races, all creeds, all orientations, and so forth. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
You know, the country, though, did not
did not leave us alone. It It didn't follow the 14th Amendment, and we did not have equal protection under the law, and that's what led to affirmative action. And where does the back and forth stop?
Do you think affirmative action and race-based policies like that, quotas, you think though that they're net positive for the intended beneficiary?
Oh no, I mean no, I don't think they're they have been, I think, in the short term, but in the long term, the country cannot survive in that mode. So at some point, there has to be an end game. There has to be an end game to all this stuff. And where is it? And the Supreme Court said it's yesterday. Yesterday, that's the end game, and it's over. And now we have to see, can the country move forward under this condition?
Well,
without affirmative action.
One of the things policies like that, it seems to me, have done is to divide people philosophically.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, there are the idea that we should have a colorblind society, as Martin Luther King referenced. That is not a belief that is shared uniformly. There are a lot of people, politicians, I think a whole party, that believes that the path to justice, their social justice concepts, is counting by race and other identitarian characteristics on behalf of other identitarian groups that they've cobbled together sort of as their mascots. So I mean, are we all trying to get to a colorblind society, a merit-based society? Merit? What did you just say? Merit? Merit's a triggering word for the left in 2023 America.
Yeah,
so I think we have to understand that, you think that everybody wants the same thing, and everybody doesn't want the same thing in America anymore. All I have to do is point you to that school in Atlanta. I've brought up this story many times. Grade school, where a black mom had to sue her kids' grade school because they literally were segregating kids in primary grades by race. The black teacher was teaching the black kids, and the white teacher was teaching the white kids. That's literally happening in 2022 America. And the principal didn't deny it and said, this is how we should do it, in fact. So, we're all unity. We all want to get to the same place. We all ultimately believe the same thing. We don't anymore.
And the only way we will survive as a nation is if we find a common ideal. And I mean, the next great leader in this country is going to be the one who can reforge an American ideal. And there's going to be racists out there. There are going to be people out there who are going to want to segregate themselves, without a doubt. But the country will not survive that way. The next great leader in this country, again, and I think I said it earlier this week, he's gonna be able to make Billy Bob in Podunk, Alabama, in the pickup truck, understand that he is the same citizen of the same country as Ray Ray on the west side of Chicago.
I agree with that.
We've got to find that common ground again, and we cannot keep calling each other names. And I think 2024 is going to be a real test of that.
Well, can we call some people names? I don't want to give up the name calling altogether. Trish in the South Loop, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Yes, to your point, as many times you have talked on your radio station about the mentally illiterates that are coming out of the public schools, I agree with what the Supreme Court said, because as you all stated several times on your show, that the children are illiterate. They can't do math and reading, so you have to qualify other than skin color, and a mass of children are coming out of school expecting to go to college, and they can't read and write. And point number two, to Charles Thomas, when I called the other day, I heard you say that the book has already been written. It's called the Bible. Well, I was suggesting someone write a fiction novel about the creative human trying to find another human to marry in the future. And the Bible is not fiction. You said the book has already been written. The Bible is a fact. So I just wanted to be clear on that. I said a fiction novel. Okay. Have a good day. Thanks for taking the call.
Thank you, Trish. Appreciate it. Philip in Blue Island.
Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. I don't know why this country or its entities, or if you will, like the Supreme Court, just want to relapse this country into a state of unsureness. Now we're not sure how this is going to affect universities and colleges and even schools all over the United States because of this ruling. And the fact that, and then why I say that, because you have rejecting constituted authority and discipline like Eugene Bull Connor, George Wallace, the Klansmen, rogue police officers cause pain or observe others' pain as a source of pleasure, excitement, and power. So I don't understand why they had to do it. Like you just said, W.E.B., one of our brothers, you said do nothing.
Frederick Douglass.
Why are they doing something? Why did they have to do this? This is so unnecessary. And then we talk about just 60 years or 50 years, however it's been enacted. Is that enough time? You really think that the 60 years after 400 years of indentured slave into slavery in America, and you think that 60 years, even 100 years, is enough time? Especially after we came out of slavery with nothing. We didn't come out with $100. We didn't come out with the ability to buy. We didn't come out with nothing. And then we were rejected 40 acres and a mule to get us started. Mm-hmm. But again, we had to sit back and watch places like Tulsa and other places in Florida where black people were striving and doing well. White people could not just do nothing. They had to destroy it every time. So we're in a relapse, and if we just sit back and just act like, well, let me say this before I go. The Supreme Court itself is made up of these basically 5 white men. You got one functioning as a white man and this one white woman that decided that this was a good thing.
Who's functioning as a white man on the court? Is that a reference to Clarence Thomas?
Clarence Thomas is functionally white.
Functionally white. Got it. Mm-hmm. I got it.
I'm going to let it go. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Philip. So this is sort of what you're dealing with. He references the Tulsa Wall Street Massacre of 1921 and Bull Connor and the other segregationists of the 60s. Yeah. And the only thing he can come up with in terms of present day is to call a kid who was raised in poor rural Georgia a functional white man. Poor rural Georgia, by the way, I mean, since Clarence Thomas is in his 70s, in a time when there was the institutional racism in this country that you were describing earlier. But he's a functional white man now because he disagrees with
But we talked about this when we were off air a few minutes ago. Have white people changed? Have white people changed in these last 50 years in terms of
not to Philip.
Exactly. And I think that's a truism for a lot of black folks. They feel that, and younger ones, that most troubling, they will say that it's worse than ever, man. I'm talking about people 22 years old who were born, after the millennium, who will tell you it's worse than ever.
Yeah,
They know.
Yeah.
I mean, man, I knew my father. I knew my grandfather. I talked to them when I was a young man and a boy. Mm-hmm. I talked to them, and they told me about what they endured, and they set me on a path that was different. And I grew up poor. I mean, I grew up poor in an all-black neighborhood, but they told me what they endured, and I know what I endured personally. And I look at young black people today, and I say, man, there is opportunity there. All you have to do, really, talk to an African immigrant, a black person
Right.
from Nigeria, from
Mhm.
Ghana,
Mhm.
from Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire. Talk to them. They live right up on the north side of Chicago, and they'll tell you they're black. They're unmistakably black. They look black. They are black, and they move around this society with more freedom and see more opportunity than they saw or experienced anywhere in their homeland. And they don't have the same limitation. They don't have the same limitations. I mean, it's a conversation that black people need to have. Well, what's different about you? And what's different about somebody who grew up here? And it's a conversation that I think black folks are going to have to start having among themselves, particularly as we see moves like this Supreme Court decision yesterday. What does this hold for the future? What does it mean you have to do to make sure that you get into a university moving forward?
That's an important conversation, the comparison between American black men and women and African immigrants, for example. That would be a very interesting conversation. Here's another one. You really want to be represented by the likes of Erica Marsh as your spokeshumans? Erica Marsh is just a sort of off-the-shelf, standard issue, young, white, leftist idiot who doesn't know anything. She was an Obama field organizer. 30s. She'll be, like a Wilmette housewife someday. And she'll be up there telling everyone how she's saving the black man and the black woman. Erica Marsh's reaction to the Supreme Court decision yesterday. Today's Supreme Court decision is a direct attack on black people. No black person will be able to succeed in a merit-based system, which is exactly why affirmative action-based programs are needed. Today's decision is a travesty. No black person will be able to succeed in a merit-based system. You want so Erica Marsh? You want her to represent your interest? Do you? I mean, this is she's saying out loud what we talked about the other day. Sort of these white man's burden, rich honkies in the suburbs think.
I also
in terms of where the systemic racism exists. You want to see here systemic racism when the talk is about I'm pro-abortion because we have too many fatherless black babies and so on and so forth. You know where you hear that? You don't hear that on the South or West Sides, and you don't hear it in conservative circles. You hear it at cocktail parties on the North Shore or in Naperville. You want to talk about systemic racism? There's systemic racism, but it's cultural. It's not institutional. And the cultural systemic racism exists within the culture of leftist identitarianism. They won't be able to succeed in a merit-based system. Oh, sorry, black man, woman, give up. You can't succeed if we go to merit-based. That's not patronizing at all, is it?
Well, it's what Michelle Obama was saying, that she always was concerned at Princeton about whether or not people thought she was only there because of an affirmative action program, and that she never, but she knew she was there because she worked hard. Everything I ever got in life, I believe I have it because I worked hard. I worked hard at it.
Right.
And a long time. And where does that fit into what are we telling people? What are we telling young people? I mean, I was very interested in hearing Michelle Obama talk about the decision yesterday and how it's so terrible that this happened. Well, what happened to you, Michelle? How did you handle it?
Based on reading her master's thesis, she did not belong at Princeton. But that's just my opinion.
That's your opinion.
Corey in Woodlawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, gentlemen, good morning. I'm so glad that affirmative action is out of the way. I mean, this may be a poor example, but, Goldman Sachs was started because Jews were not getting entry into some of these investment houses. So I'm glad it's out the way. Individuals have a chance now to strive, bring back the polymaths. I mean, the individuals that had a deep understanding about multiple different subjects. We don't have that anymore. And look at our neighborhood, all of this meddling and mischief. And this is Thomas Sowell's birthday. I mean, I'm glad this thing is gone. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Also, too, I mean, there are other parties of concern here. I don't want to overlook them. What do you say to incoming Brown University student Alex Shee, who's an Asian gentleman, incoming Brown University Ivy League student? He spoke to ABC News about the decision, saying this.
I think that this whole business, when we're deciding based on race, at least as a factor, that sort of assumes that all people of a certain race are sort of monolithic, that minorities are monolithic. And I know at least for Asian Americans, sort of the way that we're perceived is hardworking, no charisma, no character. And you see that in those in the Harvard case, you'll see that that's how they view Asian American students. They see us sort of as bland and sort of lacking character. And I think that that's sort of what happens to all minority groups when you view us first and foremost as a certain race, and then just look at individual characteristics that we have later. I think we should flip that around and view our individual characteristics regardless of what race we are first and foremost. And I think that's the most appropriate way to do this. Because there, again, you can look at recommendation letters. You can look at, there's so many other things that you can look at. And I know that Bhumi was mentioning sort of this holistic admissions process. In that process, you have so much data. You have access to your parents' income, for instance, if you might need financial aid. You have access to information about the school district that you grew up in. And I think that information actually gives you knowledge of the student situation and sort of what advantages or disadvantages that you might have in life, because any student of any race at an underfunded school district won't necessarily have the same opportunities that somebody at a very highly funded school district. And so by looking at what opportunities they had available and how they were able to make the most of that is not something that requires you to look at race. When you can actually pinpoint that the experiences that a student might have had through other factors that don't involve race.
So what do you say to him? Too bad, so sad, Alex. You don't get to go to Brown because we have this stereotype of Asian kids. I mean, that's essentially what the Supreme Court struck down, is what he's describing Harvard and other schools as have been doing to applicants. So that, I mean, do you want to endorse that paradigm? Because for those that are screeching about the Supreme Court decision are necessarily endorsing what Alex Shee is describing as occurred to him and other Asian students. So yeah, let's not forget about the moving party in the case here, too, and those who were transgressed upon. All right, we're going to continue this conversation. Also, talk a little bit more about the workarounds. You know, this is, as was Brown v. Board of Education, as was the Civil Rights Act, but specifically like Brown v. Board, ruling separate but unequal, untenable, separate but equal untenable, I should say. So it was a Supreme Court decision, then it took a long time to be culturally accepted and fully implemented, and now we're regressing, as we were mentioning. Well, so will be the same thing with this, and we'll discuss that at 6:36. Now we check the headline. Mike Scott.
72 degrees. At 6:31, former Vice President Pence was in Ukraine on Thursday, meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Volodymyr Zelensky said that he wanted to show the American people why it was important to support Ukraine.
Pence is the first Republican 2024 presidential candidate to meet with Zelensky. The group that sued to overturn affirmative action practices in college admissions had high praise for the Supreme Court for ruling in its favor.
A university doesn't have real diversity when it simply assembles students who look different but come from similar backgrounds.
NAACP President and CEO Derek Johnson says the decision is another footnote in the court's legacy.
They created a Clarence Thomas who benefited from the program and now is in a position where he's going to deny many young African-American talented individuals an opportunity.
The Supreme Court ruled the university's admissions programs violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court also issued a decision in a Pennsylvania mail carrier's case involving how much employers need to accommodate workers' religious beliefs. Gerald Groff is a former substitute carrier for the U.S. Postal Service. He said as a Mennonite, he needed Sundays off to observe the Sabbath. Charges will not be filed in a deadly stampede at the Astro World Music Festival. Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogue saying a grand jury declined to file a criminal case against 6 associated with the event, including Houston native artist Travis Scott.
They determined the conclusion and the outcome in this very narrow criminal review.
10 died at the 2021 crowd surge at Energy Park. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s last sibling has died. King Center saying Dr. Christine King Ferris died peacefully this morning with her family by her side in Atlanta. She was 95. Thursday, a busy day at O'Hare, and it will be again today for travelers dealing with delays and cancellations. As of Thursday evening, at least 190 flights have been canceled at O'Hare. More than a dozen Chicagoans are facing federal charges for allegedly running an open-air drug market on the Northwest Side. According to federal prosecutors, 13 defendants, all part of the traveling Vice Lords street gang, sold cocaine, crack, heroin, and fentanyl in plain sight near West Chicago and North Trumbull. Springfield Mayor Misty Buscher has issued a local state of emergency in response to severe weather that struck the area and all of central Illinois yesterday. In fact, the city implemented a curfew that lasted until 5:30 this morning. Well, that long-awaited NASCAR Chicago street race is here. It's already causing major headaches for Chicagoans as of last night. All the north and southbound lanes of Michigan Avenue are shut down between Jackson and Balbo. White Sox 9-7 winners in Anaheim over the Angels, while the Cubs lost to the Phillies. The Bulls get Andre Drummond to return, and he accepts his player option for the next season. And the Blackhawks trade for MVP forward Corey Perry in a deal with Tampa Bay yesterday. Now, he becomes an unrestricted free agent tomorrow, but Chicago's got plenty of cap space to work out a deal. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news, brand new MyPillow 2.0. Buy one, get one free, machine washable and dryable with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum has lost trust.
I do not have confidence that this particular indictment, none of them, to be honest, are done in good faith. I don't have the confidence that they are not attempting to use political leverage to attack an opponent.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you a business owner with a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth, but you just need the right bank? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that Signature Bank is all about going the distance for commercial banking customers. It's what Signature Bank does every day. Their team understands that accessibility is key to their culture. In times like these, you want a bank that is there for you to weather the bad times and capitalize on the good. And with Signature Bank by your side, you can't go wrong. It's a true partnership. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. I believe in what they have to offer, from innovative tech and customized solutions to help your business grow and thrive. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. be the next success story.
You may have heard some talk about the ERC, that's the Employee Retention Credit. It's a federal program that provides small business owners like you up to $26,000 per W-2 employee in payroll tax refunds to your business. Just one call to Careful Accounting Associates at 800-315-8175 is all it takes to find out if you qualify for quick funding with one of our accredited funding partners in as little as 72 hours. Call 800-315-8175. Call 800-315-8175 now.
Hi, I'm Randy Donnelly from Donnelly Auctions in Union, Illinois. I want to talk to you about items that you are considering selling. You already know that Donnelly Auctions specializes in things like guns and military, automobiles and motorcycles, and Petroliana. But I want to help you sell what you have collected. We have sold collections of police and fire badges, coin collections, and we've set a world record price for our last license plate auction. I may not be a magician, but I can make your collection disappear and reappear as money in your wallet. Donnelly Auctions is a worldwide marketplace with warehouses of collectibles. If you're selling, we can get you top dollar. If you're a buyer, you can find collectibles that you just can't find anywhere else. Monthly auctions you can view and bid online as well. Contact me at 815-923-7000 or through our website at DonnellyAuctions.com for a free, no-obligation consultation. I'm Randy Donnelly, and I'll see you at the auction.
6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Irish Spring. Fresh scent of Irish Spring and those sensational Irish Spring suds. Just the reset you need to own the day. You're ready. Pick up Irish Spring at your local retailer today. The Kennedy inbound at an hour from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Heavy and slow on the outbound side, right at Chicago Avenue where there's an accident. 22 minutes back out to the big airport. Ike inbound, 54-390 to the old post office. Outbound Dan Ryan right now remains closed from the Burns Circle interchange to the Eisenhower exit because of an accident that's being investigated from much earlier in the day and will continue to be for at least a little while longer. So big delays right in the downtown area on the outbound Ike. 394, there's an overturned vehicle on the right shoulder just occurred northbound between US 30 and Joe Orr Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun, very humid, and we'll see a pop-up thunderstorm crossing the area, high 91. There's a dense fog advisory for the south and western suburbs as well, 72 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning, as he has been all week, Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Yours truly.
We have been poring over the Supreme Court decision and its implications and having the larger cultural conversation about it as well. This is what the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, had to say about it yesterday in a sit-down with MSNBC's Nicole Wallace. Take a listen.
What I meant by that is it's done more to unravel basic rights and basic decisions than any court in recent history. And that's what I meant by not normal. It's gone out of its way to, I mean, for example, take a look at overruling Roe v. Wade. Take a look at what the decision today. Take a look at how it's ruled on a number of issues that have been precedent for 50, 60 years sometimes. And that's what I meant by not normal. Its value system is different, and its respect for institutions is different. And in that sense, it is not as embracing of all what I think the Constitution says. We hold these truths to be self. All men and women are created equal, endowed by their Creator. It's a uniqueness of America. We never fully lived up to it. We never walked away from it. And this court seems to say that no, that's not always the case. The idea there's no right of privacy in the Constitution, giving states power that we fought a war over in 1860. I just think it's this is not your father's Republican Party.
What war did we fight in 1960 over what right to privacy?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't.
It's painful. It's cringe-worthy.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I mean he's what a wonderful dissertation on the SCOTUS decision by invoking Roe v. Wade and talking about a war we didn't fight in 1960. Sure. Okay. There's the intellectual
tidbit.
He's the intellectual head of the left, the American left. I don't know how else to describe it. So that was the Biden case. The whole this is not normal. They don't support. They don't believe in institutions. These are cases that had 50 and 60 years worth of precedent. Well, right. So was Plessy v. Ferguson before Brown v. Board of Education. That was almost 60 years. Do you oppose the ruling in Brown v. Board because it overturned 60 years of precedent? No, of course not. They don't have any substantive arguments, or they can't address the substantive arguments. The elimination of race as a basis for college admission is inconsistent with the idea that we are all endowed by a Creator with certain inalienable rights and so on and so forth. It's inconsistent with the stated principles in the founding documents. How? No, Nicole Wallace didn't follow up on that. This is what you're getting. And this is also what you're getting from people who actually have a functioning gray matter, like incoming Harvard president Claudine Gay. And here's another one of these examples, Charles. We talked about with Joy Reid. Joy Reid was able to go to Harvard, but she seems to not believe that other black men and women can get to Harvard. She could, but
she's exceptional.
She's exceptional. Claudine Gay is a black woman as well, and she's the incoming president of Harvard. But
she's exceptional too.
She is. Anybody who's a president of Harvard is exceptional in some respects, right? But I mean, she's still playing the game that we were talking about we haven't changed at all as a country, as a people, in the last 60 or 160 years, for that matter.
The Supreme Court's decision on college and university admissions will change how we pursue the educational benefits of diversity. But our commitment to that work remains steadfast. It's essential to who we are and the mission that we are here to advance. For nearly 9 years, Harvard vigorously defended our admissions process and our belief that we all benefit from learning, living, and working alongside people of different backgrounds and experiences. We will comply with the court's decision, but it does not change our values. We continue to believe deeply that a thriving, diverse intellectual community is essential to academic excellence and critical to shaping the next generation of leaders.
That's more sophistry, and I just wanted to address it. First of all, as I've often said, going back to the Obama years when diversity became this sort of all-encompassing word signifying goodness. Diversity is synonymous with goodness. As I've said before, 3 black guys are having a conversation, and a white supremacist joins it. The group has gotten more diverse. Has it gotten better? Diversity is neutral, and first of all, and second of all, it doesn't need a steward. In a merit-based system, in a colorblind system, you will get diversity. You'll get diversity of thought. You'll get diversity of race and religion and so on and so forth, because there's a lot. It turns out, this is going to be a shock, It turns out there's a lot of smart, talented people in every demographic. Asian, black, white, Latino, man, woman, so on and so forth. It turns out that they're not concentrated in one intersectional cross-section. So it doesn't need a government steward. You don't centrally plan diversity, and you don't need to. Not if you set the rules of the game such that everybody is clear on what they are, and you rise or fall based on your performance within the rules of the game.
But a lot of people don't believe that.
I know.
They have no confidence in that, and their confidence is shaken by when you have leaders who basically tell you that, no, it can't be fair. You can't do it. So they abandon the ideal. They abandon it. They leave it on the curb somewhere so no one else can pursue it. And that's not leadership in my mind. That's just not leadership. You have to have a North Star. It has to be there somewhere, and it's not. And another question to Harvard, are they going to curtail their so-called legacy admissions? The ones where they'll take the son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter of a alumni who's giving the university tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, so that kid gets to come into Harvard and based on that. And they freely admit that legacy admissions happen at these big expensive private schools.
It's not just there. And that's not the only, these aren't the only admissions policies that are dubious. U of I's deference to foreign nationals paying full freight as opposed to a kid at Wheaton Warrenville South with a 36 SAT and a 5.0 grade point average who plays 3 sports and plays the violin. But that's in-state tuition.
Or the guy who runs the 4.240.
Well, yeah, sure. Right. Yeah.
I mean, they do things.
Of course.
But they've always done them. And at Harvard, does this mean that the number of Asian American students is going to increase based on this ruling? That they'll have to, when that kid comes there with the 4.6 high school grade point average and all the extracurricular activities and did a 1495 on the SAT or whatever it is.
36 ACT.
That means that the kid gets, the Asian kid they'll have to accept him now, right? Is that what it is? Or?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, here's the thing. So again, as I mentioned prior to the break, the implementation, the devil in the details of winning the cultural battle on campuses now, on campuses that are dominated by the left. You think the Supreme Court decision, they're just going to take it lying down? You just heard from the president of Harvard that they're not. And I know it's all flowery language, but what they mean is we've got workarounds. And if you don't believe me, listen to the Berkeley Law School Dean, UC Berkeley Law School Dean, Erwin Chemerinsky, as he talked about to a group about unstated affirmative action. Shh. Don't say it out loud. You don't have to. Wink, wink. We all know what we're doing because, of course, the one thing that is monolithic in this conversation is the ideological disposition of the professorate and the administrations at all of these universities, with very few exceptions.
What I mean by unstated affirmative action is, what if the college or university doesn't tell anybody, doesn't make any public statements, but still wants to? I'll give you an example from our law school, but if ever I'm deposed, I'm going to deny I said this to you. When we do faculty hiring, we're quite conscious that diversity is important to us. And we say diversity is important, it's fine to say that. But I'm very careful when we have a faculty appointments committee meeting. Anytime somebody says, we should really prefer this candidate over this candidate because this person would add diversity, don't say that. You can think it, you can vote it, but our discussions are not privileged, so don't ever articulate that that's what you're doing. Well, that works more easily with regard to faculty hiring. With regard to student admissions, it becomes more difficult because it's a statistical measure.
Yeah, it becomes more difficult, but certainly not impossible. Everybody in the admissions committee, secret handshake. We know what we're here to do. We all believe the same things. We all share a brain, so it should work out fine. And by the way, one of the obvious workarounds of this, and this was included in the Supreme Court's opinion, this and sort of implied by Joe Biden's adversity standards, statements about the adversity you've overcome, diversity statements on college applications that have nothing. They're not limited specifically to your race, but they implicate your race by you telling the university to which you're applying what you've overcome. So there's the workaround. And then the admissions folks just, give the wink and a nod, and it's the same deal. So, don't think this is going to vastly reconstitute the racial composition of freshman classes around the country this year or for many years to come. This is still a battle that needs to be won culturally in terms of moving away from race, moving away from the larger leftist gambit of conferring benefits and imposing responsibilities based on identity. That's the larger play. It's bigger than race, but it includes race.
So you mean on your application, you can, when
they'll ask for a diversity statement,
yeah,
or an adversity statement, which is the same thing.
I was the president of the Latino Students Association, and as one of my extracurricular activities, so they know immediately. Oh,
yeah, of course.
Or your name,
yeah,
even if it's has a Spanish surname.
I mean, the way I've always advocated, and I did when I ran for governor 13, 14 years ago now. You have the admissions practice in U of I colleges and universities, like the CSO, like the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. There's a screen between you and those listening to you play. All they can hear is the music, and you make a decision based on what you heard. That's the way to do it. That's the way college admissions could be done. You can't do it that way? Sure you can. You can assign random numbers to applications so you don't know any of the demographic information. And you can look at the record, not just the academic record, the extracurriculars and so forth. You can look at, and then you can make decisions based on that. But who wants to do that? That's too merit-oriented, isn't it? Philip, West Side.
Hey, good morning, Dan, Charles, and the rest of the world. How you doing this morning?
Good.
Good. Hey, Dan, I was just calling because I get so sick of all these African-American people calling in like this guy, Philip from Blue Island, about this racism. I drive a truck, Dan. This is not a racist country. People need to get over this hate because of what happened 400 years ago. And when I meet black people, I only tell them I got 4 words for you. Negro, you are free. You're free to do anything in this world today. It's so sad what they're doing to the youth in America, especially in the black community. They got these young kids out here just as dumb. If you were smarter, you wouldn't need nobody to help you get in colleges and stuff. Teach these kids to buckle down and do their lesson. It is terrible what's going on in the black community, all because we have leaders like this president hating half the world. We are Americans. All of us are Americans. Because I disagree, don't dislike me. Let's talk about it. These Democrat liberals, whatever you want to call them, are evil people. And we're winning this battle. The people need to stop this racism because this is not a racist country. And don't nobody hate you but yourself. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks for the call,
You said
Philip.
a lot, buddy.
Appreciate it.
My friend.
I like Philip on the West Side. I like him a little bit better than I like Philip from Blue Island. If I had to rank them, as friends. You know what I mean? Verlon, South Side.
Dan, why did you take him first? It's going to be hard for me to follow that.
It is. It is going to be hard.
But I called in for two reasons. Number one, this is an important first step for us to be treated like equals, but it doesn't go far enough. Now we can start to rise and fall at our own hand by teaching the youth that we're equal. But I think it should be extended to businesses as well. I don't think it should be a quota system. I don't think it should be a quota system anymore. And the other reason why I called was I had to respond like that guy just did to Philip. Philip is full of hate. I tried to extend a helping hand to Philip, and it's just pure hate for white people. Do you know that man told me that my daughter robbed the black community of wealth because she married a white man, and that my grandson is going to grow up with problems because he's biracial. You know what, Philip? And I'm going to say this in the strongest way I can. You are a racist and a black supremacist. And that's it. That's all I got to say.
Thanks for the call, Verlon. Tony, Downers Grove.
Well, Dan, as usual, you get diverse thought from Philip on the west side and not so diverse thought from Philip on the south side. But as usual, one topic uncovers a lot of discussion. So first, I don't know why anybody would want to hear Michelle Obama speak on the topic, except that, well, she is the oracle of speech for all black people. So they'll listen. But the minority student that you had speak, that clip that you played, he said something about underfunding. So we have to ask the question, are public schools in Chicago underfunded, or is part of the problem in the community? And if you want to talk to people that are indigenous to West Africa or other countries and people of color, and I do talk to them, and you know what they'll say? The system implemented by certain politicians is purposely keeping certain people down. But we're too blind to realize it. So as we've often talked about, we meddle in these things here, so you don't look at what we're doing under the covers here, and the next thing you wake up and you say, how did we get here? So we just have to ask ourselves some real important questions. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the call, Tony. All right, coming up at 7:07, we've got to switch gears for the time being. You can call us Open Mic Friday at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. Also, we're going to have former Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz on at the top of the 8 o'clock hour for more discussion on this. But at 7:07, Scott the Cow Guy Shellady with a review of the economic landscape. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Delays are impacting O'Hare travelers ahead of a busy holiday weekend. NASCAR's weekend race is starting to wreak havoc on Chicago commuters. White Sox beat the Angels to split that series. Cubs get swept by the Phillies, and the Blackhawks acquire an MVP. More clouds than sun in your forecast, and WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
It's a big morning at the Supreme Court. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
President Biden and the rest of us will learn whether or not his student loan forgiveness plans are legal or not.
Fox's Mark Meredith at the White House. There are two cases that justices will decide related to that plan, aiming to wipe out thousands of dollars in debt for millions of Americans. There's also one other ruling we're awaiting as the court ends its term today.
The case of a Colorado web designer who says she's an artist and should not be forced to design custom websites which go against her own personal religious beliefs.
It was another angry night in France over this week's deadly police shooting of a teenager at a traffic stop. You could hear the loud bangs and the sound of the flames as people set more cars on fire and shot fireworks at cops, clashing with law enforcement. More than 200 officers have been injured in the 3 days of unrest. There's also anger in Parkland, Florida, where a jury acquitted a former school resource officer of child neglect charges. Scott Peterson was called a coward for taking cover outside a high school in 2018 as a massacre went on inside, not going in to confront the gunman who killed 17 people, including Tony Montalto's daughter, Gina.
For our families, we still feel he should be haunted every day by his failure to act.
Scott Peterson cheered when the verdict was read in court, claims he didn't know at the time where the shots were coming from.
I would never want any law enforcement officer in this country to go through the last 4.5 years of what I went through.
This is going to be a busy day again at airports. AAA predicts a record 4th of July travel this weekend, but it's been a rough week. Storms and air traffic control shortages leading to more than 6,000 flight cancellations, more than triple that in delays, frustrating flyers.
We're all, holding our breath, crossing our fingers, hoping this will work.
This is the last flight I'll ever do on United. They're done.
They are traveling in Denver. People still rebooking flights, trying to find luggage. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine this morning, 72 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The Sun-Times is reporting the search for Chicago's next top cop has been narrowed down to 6 candidates. More than 50 apparently applied for the job. A police oversight board now has until July 14 to narrow the list to 3. Whether Illinois' gun and magazine bans are constitutional is now up to a federal appeals court, as AM 560's Greg Bishop reports.
The consolidated cases challenging state and local gun and magazine bans in Illinois were heard Thursday by a 3-judge panel of the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. Defendants asked the court to affirm the Northern District Court upholding the bans while reversing a Southern District Court injunction against the law. While the defense said the banned firearms are dangerous and unusual, plaintiffs argued that's not the case, and the banned firearms are commonly owned. Judge Frank Easterbrook asked plaintiff's attorney Thomas Magg why bazookas can't be considered arms.
In your view, is the Stinger missile protected by the Second Amendment?
Probably not, because it would be dangerous and unusual.
Unusual compared to what?
Compared to anything. Even in the military, they don't issue man-pads, man-portable air defense systems like the Stinger missile to the average infantryman.
I'm Greg Bishop.
On Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court voted to overturn affirmative action in colleges, ending the use of race as a factor in college admissions. Democrat State Representative LaShawn Ford says to him it's a disappointing day.
Yeah, I think that we have not passed racism in this country, and I think that there will be some negative, I would say, unintended consequences from the Supreme Court's ruling.
Republican State Representative Brad Halbrook said the decision is about fairness for the state and that students deserve equal access and equal opportunity. Well, that long-awaited NASCAR Chicago street race is here. It's already causing major headaches for most Chicagoans. As of last night, all north and southbound lanes of Michigan Avenue are shut down between Jackson and Belbo. White Sox 9-7 winners in Anaheim. Cubs lost to the Phillies 3-1. Blackhawks bring in another MVP, signing a deal to bring Corey Perry from Tampa Bay to the Blackhawks. However, tomorrow he becomes an unrestricted free agent, but Chicago's got plenty of cap space to try to work out a deal with Perry. The news service of Woodland Windows and Doors. See Marvin products in their showroom at the corner of Lake and Gary and Roselle, or visit woodlandwindows.com for a free in-home expert consultation. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The mainstream media wants to divide Americans into neat little groups, and they want you to believe that everyone in each one of those groups thinks alike. John Anthony is here to blow up that lie. Join him for Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4, when he provides a different perspective on what it means to be black and right. Tomorrow afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Your pet isn't just a pet, they're part of your family. Most of the pet food on the market is cooked at high temperatures, which kills nutrients. A scoop of Dynovite is a 3-in-1 daily supplement, adding back key nutrients to your pup's health. Try Dynovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio. That's dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful at lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question, and the owners of Relief Factor tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. That's right, designed to heal, and I agree with them. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, yes, 100% drug-free ingredients, each helping your body deal with inflammation. Each of the 4 ingredients deals with inflammation from a different metabolic pathway. That's right there, approaching from 4 different angles may be why so many people find such wonderful relief. So if you have back pain, shoulder, neck, hip, knee, or foot pain from exercise or just getting older, you should order the 3-week Quick Start, discounted to only $19.95, to see if it will work for you. It has for about 70% of the 500,000 people who've tried it, and they've ordered more. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF, the number 4RELIEF, to find out about this offer. Feel the difference.
If your money is not earning at least 5.25% tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. They're offering a 5.25% APY on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA accounts. Rate subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred, no-fee annuity. Earn 5.25% APY on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA. Pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800.
7:08, time to visit signaturebank.bank, and now time to check the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. We're going to start on the inbound Kennedy, where there's an accident on the right shoulder, inbound at Chicago, and right now 57 minutes in from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. We're jumping to the Ike, where it's solid central all the way into the Burns Circle, 54 minutes in, 390 to the old post office, and the outbound Dan Ryan. From the Burns Circle interchange out to the down to 290 is closed due to an accident, and will remain that way as the ongoing investigation into that accident continues. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
More clouds than sun, humid afternoon thunderstorm in the area. Those distant wildfires causing poor air quality today, high 91. Cloudy and humid, thunderstorm tonight, low 72. Thunder shower for tomorrow, the high 83. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
72 at O'Hare, 69 along Chicago's lakefront, and your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and in for Amy, Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter. And Charles, I'm sure you've noticed in West Loop, we were talking to the executive director of the Fulton Market Association a few weeks back. Not as many people coming from the suburbs downtown to enjoy a night out, dinner, so on and so forth, restaurants and entertainment venues. Certainly seeing less business as a result.
Yeah, particularly later into the evening. You
get in, get out.
Right, get in, get out, and definitely you can feel it. There's fewer people, but you don't know whether or not they're fearing the crime, or is it the prices? Oh my God!
Right,
for dinner is amazing. I'd hate to be out there dating.
Well, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
For suburbanites, where the discussion turns to crime as something that concerns them, could radiate from the city out into the suburbs, as it has in places like Chicagoland. And also, people not wanting to go to the city to go to work and what that means for commercial real estate. We're expecting, I think, first quarter of this year, $64 billion in property, commercial real estate, classified as distressed. And the left has a message to suburbanites who don't want to come to work in the city, who don't want to come down to eat or enjoy a night out in the city, who are worried about crime coming to their suburban enclaves. I think it was nicely summed up what the left thinks about you suburbanites who spend all your time, so many of you, praising the city. Oh, such a beautiful city. And of course. And who don't understand what's happening in the city, can't confront what's happening in the city. Well, for those concerned about what the city means for the suburbs, the response was nice of the left generally, was nicely summed up by Wisconsin State Senator LaTanya Johnson from Milwaukee, who had this to say during floor discussion on the topic.
The suburbs, because they don't know a goddamn thing about how life is in the city.
So F the suburbs because you don't know a GD thing about what's happening in the city. So that's one approach. For more on this, what's happening in urban centers and how it may radiate out into the suburbs, and the reckoning that politicians like LaTanya Johnson may feel in her district, we're pleased to be joined by Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist from Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1, and the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
So what about the trajectory of cities beset by commercial real estate problems, both on the office space and the retail space sides of the equation?
Well, they've coined a phrase now. It's called a doom loop. It's something you can't get out of. It's like a death spiral. Obviously, we all know about the population leaving, but there's other metrics. One of them is businesses. And Illinois is number 2, or Chicago is number 2 in big cities when it comes to businesses that are fleeing the cities. And that's just tax dollars leaving right from underneath your nose. And so this is a situation where the worse it gets, the worse it'll get. And the less you'll have to tax, and you'll need that money. And so there's not going to be any real way out unless you get some sort of reawakening to having people love living in the city. Here's the deal. Remember, you lived in the city. I lived in the city for a long time myself. You pay a premium to live in the city because you have maybe the opera or baseball and football sports, music, whatever. That's worth the premium. But it's not anymore. So how are you going to hang on to your tax base? And you've got all these overheads that you're going to have to tax, and you can't do it. And then on top of it, people are fleeing, businesses are fleeing. I can't imagine for the life of me why. And I apologize. I'll pre-apologize if somebody there has already owns property in the city of Chicago. But I can't for the life of me understand how it holds up in value.
It doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's pretty clear, especially when you look at the Case-Shiller Index for metropolitan areas over the last 2 decades, as we did earlier in the week, and you find that Chicago lags the other 10 major cities that it was compared against by like a factor of 5 or 6. 9% adjusted for inflation bump over since 2000, as compared to even places like San Francisco, L.A., New York. 40, 50, 55% increase over that same period. So it's been a slow decline. And, one of the things I see around the city, and just driving around the area, I don't know if you see this, Charles and Scott. It feels old. It feels decrepit. It feels like it's dying. Now there are newer aspects of some neighborhoods, like in West Loop, but generally speaking, I'm talking about the inner ring suburbs. The most of the neighborhoods in the city, it feels old and tired, and it feels in decline. Or maybe I'm just projecting the data.
The West Loop right now feels like a party for the people who live there.
Yeah,
you just don't see a lot of people coming from outside anymore. It's easier to get a reservation there at a reasonable time. I've noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that, the young crowd, it's a younger crowd, 20s, 20-somethings, single people. You see groups of young women, going out to dinner and such. And that's...
Yeah, but the problem is when the YPO set leaves and a lot of the senior level people around them, that's a real gap that's hard to fill.
Huge gap,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge gap, and a lot of people are not serious about the neighborhood anymore. It's just they come to party, but as soon as they have life changes of some sort, marriage, a child, they're gone. They're out of there.
So, Scott, how do we measure? I mean, this is sort of a different sort of contagion that isn't talked about. How do we measure the contagion of what's happening in a Chicago or a San Francisco or a New York in terms of economic impact in the region?
Well, I was a finance professor, believe it or not, at DePaul University in 2015. And I had the students, we looked at the books of the city of Chicago as one of the things I did in the class, because I was trying to I was trying to get something that was more relatable to them, right? Something that they were living in the middle of. And basically back then in 2015, and this is, 8-9 years ago, pretty much the city was structurally bankrupt. I mean, it's now just a shell game. And they're hoping for some miracle to come around the corner and rescue them. Hopefully, maybe the federal government, whatever they're thinking. But this is back then. It was in 2015. They were in dire straits. Now, how do you measure the decay? You've already got population, Dan and Charles, back to the levels of 1920. We've backed up to 1920, and we're going down. So that's, I think, an amazing stat. But I also know that if you're losing population, you're basically losing a tax base. And then new information came out within the last 3 weeks, where Chicago was the second leading city in the country as far as businesses leaving. I mean, those metrics are real because you won't have the tax base to tax to get the things that you need to get, and then you're ultimately going to have to tax the people that are still there even more, and then it will force those people to leave even faster. I mean, I don't see a way out. But the metrics, like I said, businesses leaving, people leaving, population back to 100 years ago, we're back to where we were 100 years ago. I mean, that's a big deal if you ask me. And so I deal with a lot of people still in Chicago because I'm in the markets down here in Nashville. But to your point, Dan, there are cranes up everywhere around here. Things are brand new and spiffy and clean, and people are happy, and they talk to you. It's a 1,000-degree difference than it is in Chicago. And people actually look to go out in downtown Nashville. When I talk to the folks back where I'm from in, say, the ring suburbs of Chicago, they wonder which jewelry they're going to have to take off and leave at home, and which credit cards they're going to take out of their purses and just bring a little 2 credit cards in case something bad happens. That's what they're thinking about. Where am I going to park? How am I going to get out of there? That is the night out in Chicago. That's the premium that you used to pay for by living in the city. I mean, it's pretty sad, and for some reason, nobody can see the writing on the wall. Because it's pretty clear, if you ask me, about the policies that have been put in place in these big cities. And it started with the world's dumbest idea of all time. Any fourth grader with a first grade education knows that defunding the police is stupid. I look at everything now through that lens. And every decision that these municipalities make is their own undoing. It's their fault.
Pulling out to the macro, I mean, the markets, the irrepressible markets, in spite of this increasing dollar amount of distressed commercial property, in spite of anemic growth, 1% the last 15 months, higher interest rates, inflation. The market just keeps chugging along, so I guess everybody should be in equities.
Hey, well, you know what? Something's got to give, baby. I mean, I'm just telling you right now. I looked at it this morning. That the Dow's up 3% for the year. The S&P 500 is up 15% for the year, and the Nasdaq is up a whopping 30% for the year. And it really comes down to one thing, and that's artificial intelligence. Those indexes that are doing well, the S&P and the Nasdaq, it's a very narrow success. 7 stocks in the Nasdaq 100 and 10 or 12 in the S&P 500 are holding up those indexes. So we can have a horrible economy and have the hopes of AI keeping those stock markets higher. because those two things, you're going to have a divergence between the stock market and how you feel and what the economy is doing and what's in your pocketbook for a while, because I think that this AI is going to keep some of these indexes buoyant. But at the same time, I think, I keep calling it, for my show here, I call it Recession Island. A lot of pundits, because of what we've seen happen in these indexes, have jumped off Recession Island and think everything's fine, let's go. I'm not there at all yet. There was a study out of two economists at the Fed, whatever they're worth, came out yesterday and said 37% of American companies are in dire straits. Their words, not mine, because they were over-leveraged when rates were very low, and since they've historically risen very, very quickly, they can't borrow anymore, they can't expand, and they can't hire. 37% of American companies. Morgan Stanley believes, the big jobs report, Dan, that we report about every month.
Right.
Morgan Stanley thinks within the next 2 reports we're going to have a negative number, a loss of jobs. So I'm telling you, the consumer cannot hang in there that much longer. I don't wish bad things to happen, but I'm just telling you, the economy is, everybody's basing their feel-good right now on artificial intelligence and what that's doing to these indexes, and it's a very thin veneer. You scratch that paint and you realize that house isn't what it's worth.
Scott the Cow Guy, Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1, and the Cow Guy close 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Have a good weekend, fellas.
You too, and he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Imagine trying to eat 31 different kinds of produce in a single day. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot to me. Luckily for us, we don't have to worry about that. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies, making it the perfect, quick, on-the-go, easy solution to get more produce in your diet. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Cracked brickwork or caulking, doors or windows that no longer open or shut properly? Permaseal can help with that. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. When you look around your house, do you see uneven floors, gaps under baseboards, basement walls leaning or bowing, new cracks in your drywall or ceiling, or sunken concrete next to your foundation? These can be signs of structural foundation issues that won't get better with time. Call Permaseal today at 800-421-SEAL. Too often we hear of homeowners paying for an expensive consultation just to determine the problem. Don't be one of them. We can evaluate your foundation and offer you a permanent solution at absolutely no charge. Since 1979, Permaseal has been committed to providing quality proven products and superior customer service. When the work is done, you'll have a transferable warranty along with priceless peace of mind. And now, through June, you'll save $300 off any structural repair. Call Permaseal 800-421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
If you're age 59 and a half or older with a 401k plan and still working, stop what you're doing and call Wealth Management Group today at 833-WMG-PLAN. At 59 and a half, you're entitled to new opportunities in the investment world that can help save you thousands in 401k fees and potentially reduce your risk of a market correction. You've worked and saved, and now is the time to manage your retirement savings. Call Craig Bolanos of Wealth Management Group today at 833-WMG-PLAN. Securities and financial planning offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Envoy Global Incorporated seeks Associate Manager Engineering in Chicago, Illinois, to lead a team of dynamic software developers to build and maintain the application. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 76978. Again, Envoy Global Incorporated seeks Associate Manager Engineering in Chicago, Illinois, to lead a team of dynamic software developers to build and maintain the application. Apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 76978. Again, apply at jobpostingtoday.com. Reference number 76978.
Retirement planning can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Tune in to Retirement and Income Radio, hosted by well-known Chicagoland financial educator Mark Kohler. Mark helps listeners in or near retirement protect their savings from market volatility while creating lifetime guaranteed income. Listen to Retirement and Income Radio Sunday afternoons at 3:30 on AM 560, The Answer. Or call Mark now at 844-619-SAFE.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37, corporate culture wars. We'll get perspective on that topic from former Princeton professor, now senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, Joshua Katz. That's at 7:37. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
7:30 on AM 560, The Answer. Sunshine and 72 right now. Record amount of air travel expected over the 4th of July holiday weekend.
Today is the day. We are expecting a record number of passengers post-November 2019, 2.8 million people, according to the TSA.
AAA projects about 50 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles. The group that sued to overturn affirmative action practices in college admissions, praising the Supreme Court for ruling in its favor.
A university doesn't have when it simply assembles students who look different but come from similar backgrounds.
Founder and president of Students for Fair Admissions, Edward Blum. South Carolina Senator and presidential hopeful Tim Scott, who is black, said the ruling was long overdue.
This is the day where we understand that being judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin, is what our Constitution wants.
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker called it a devastating blow. Federal judge is rejecting Donald Trump's bid to dismiss a defamation lawsuit from New York columnist E. Jean Carroll. The U.S. is considering sending cluster munitions to Ukraine Ukraine's been requesting that since last year. At least 100 have died in Mexico over the past 3 weeks as a heat dome pushes that country's temperature to 120 in some parts of the country. The Sun-Times reporting the search for Chicago's next top cop has been narrowed down to 6 candidates. More than 50 applied for the job that was vacated by former Mayor Lori Lightfoot nominee David Brown. More than a dozen Chicagoans are facing federal charges for allegedly running an open-air drug market on the Northwest Side. According to the federal prosecutor charging in the case, 13 defendants sold crack cocaine, heroin, fentanyl in plain sight near West Chicago and North Trumbull. The men arrested have been identified as part of the traveling vice lords street gang. Yesterday's powerful storms that swept across the state left a path of destruction across central and southern Illinois. Champaign's Willard Airport sustained heavy damage. Springfield's Mayor Misty Buscher issued a local state of emergency and a curfew overnight. White Sox beat the Angels 9-7. Cubs on a 4-game losing skid after a 3-1 loss to the Phillies. The Blackhawks bringing in another MVP, trading for forward Corey Perry in a deal with Tampa Bay. Now it gets complicated. Perry will be an unrestricted free agent tomorrow, but Chicago's got plenty of cap space to try and work out a deal with Perry, who won the Hart Trophy back in 2011. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. Order T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prof University. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The feeble fascist and the entire upper echelon of the Democrat Party is a big, giant, pay-to-play scheme mafia. They get to lie with impunity, and they lie knowingly. And what does the lie lead to? The fact that the sitting president, although he doesn't know it and he's sitting in his own urine, the sitting president is an asset of enemies, foreign. We know. And we also know about the domestic, but we're used to unions.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer. Are you considering a unique way to enhance your investment knowledge this year? Then sign up today for the all-inclusive Eagle Financial Publications Cruise. Along with our trusted partner, The Money Show, we're setting sail this December to explore some of the most beautiful and unspoiled destinations in the Caribbean. But this is no ordinary vacation. It's a chance to learn from top Eagle financial experts like best-selling authors George Gilder, Mark Skousen, and others who will be hosting a series of workshops and seminars throughout the trip. Imagine lounging on the sun deck while discussing investment strategies with like-minded individuals, or enjoying a gourmet dinner at the same table with one of our leading financial authorities. This once-in-a-lifetime cruise is a perfect way to combine education and relaxation to achieve your investment goals. This cruise will sell out quickly, so visit EagleFinancialCruise.com today to learn more and to secure your cabin. That's EagleFinancialCruise.com. Eagle Financial is a division of Salem Media Group.
Yes, Sue and I truly love our dogs, which is why I am so glad I found Rough Greens. Not a dog food, but a dog supplement that we simply sprinkle on the dog's food. And naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, the founder and creator of Rough Greens, has shown us that dog food is actually dead food. It's true. Take some of your best kibble and put it in a bowl and set it on top of your fridge. 6 months or even a year later, or maybe 2 years later, it looks the same. No mold, no nothing, because it's dead food. Nutrition is not brown, nutrition is green, and Rough Greens will help your dog with low energy, itching and scratching, bad breath, digestion problems, and so much more, because it's packed with vitamins and minerals, probiotics, omega oils, and antioxidants. And Dr. Black is so convinced it will help your dog, he's offering a free Jumpstart trial bag. Just cover the shipping. Go to Rough Greens, it's RUFF, roughgreens.com/Prager, or call 833-223-RUFF, roughgreens.com/Prager, or call 833-223-RUFF.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having nationwide access with an annual deductible of only $226. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor, C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com, is someone I know and trust. He's a 28-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
7:37. Let's get an update on the roads. In our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of MyPillow, big news, brand new MyPillow 2.0. Buy one, get one free. Promo code Liberty, machine washable, 60-day money-back guarantee. MyPillow.com, promo code Liberty. Inbound Kennedy at 49 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike inbound, 37,390 into the old post office. Stevenson at 46 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. You got a big jam spot right at Cicero. Stop and go traffic there with 2 left lanes blocked with an accident. The Dan Ryan outbound, they have finally removed that accident near Taylor out of your way and the investigation that followed. So things are beginning to return to normal from the Burns Circle down to Taylor. The inbound Dan Ryan, 24 minutes, 95th into the circle. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. More clouds than sun. Pop-up thunderstorms, very possible this afternoon. High 91. Cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm overnight, low 72. 72 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan. And in for Amy this morning is Charles Thomas, former ABC7 political reporter. Charles, we tackled this yesterday, but it's good to bring it back into our conversation about corporate culture wars, or the culture wars that involve corporations. Bud Light CEO Brendan Whitworth sitting down with Oprah Winfrey's friends on the CBS Morning Show to address Bud Light's hammering in response to their ridiculing of their customers. Gee, who thought that would end badly? Certainly not their Harvard-educated head of marketing.
Harvard?
Oh, Harvard, yeah, in the news. Harvard-educated head of marketing who is now on leave somewhere, conferring with the Dalai Lama or something to get recentered. So Whitworth is trying to do damage control, announce their new marketing campaign that celebrates the summer and so on and so forth. But this exchange with the CBS Morning Show crew was really instructive of where corporate America is at present. Would you do it again? Simple question.
Given the moment we're in, this moment in America with trans issues at the top of a Republican social or conservative political agenda, knowing what you know now, if you could go back, would you send this can to this one person again?
There's a big social conversation taking place right now, and big brands are right in the middle of it. And it's not just our industry or Bud Light. It's happening in retail. It's happening in fast food. And so for us, what we need to understand is, deeply understand and appreciate, is the consumer and what they want, what they care about, and what they expect from big brands.
So this is part of why you're getting it from all sides, because I asked you, would you do it again? And people on the trans rights side of things, supporting that community, want you to say, yes, of course, we want that fortitude. and people on the right would criticize you for saying yes. So where are you on the issue? I mean, was this a mistake?
You know, Bud Light has supported LGBTQ since 1998, so that's 25 years. And as we've said from the beginning, we'll continue to support the communities and organizations that we've supported for decades. But as we move forward, you know, we want to focus on what we do best, which is brewing great beer for everyone, listening to our consumers, being humble and listening to them, making sure that we do right by our employees, take care and support our partners, and ultimately make an impact in the communities that we serve.
It's a wonderful cant on behalf of Bud Light from Mr. Whitworth, but
and very revealing on the part of the interviewer, you know, by somehow saying that Republicans or conservatives are the ones who started this. They're the ones.
Right. It's at the top. It's at the top of the list of conservatives. Even as Brendan Whitworth, we've supported LGBTQ organizations for 2.5 decades. Right. But we've manufactured this war to listen to them characterize it. Of course, that's what they say. And yet, here, speaking of those LGBT organizations that Bud Light supports, that corporate America supports, that corporate America is cowered by, we got to have the proper score from the Human Rights Campaign in order to, you know, be given the good housekeeping seal from the LGBTQ plus IA plus. 250 Hollywood celebrities sign a letter demanding big tech censors anyone who disagrees with them. Celebrities such as Alyssa Milano, I think she's past her sell-by date on celebrity, but okay. Alyssa Milano, Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, Dylan Mulvaney, of all people. Oh, interesting. Let's see, who else we got here? Fun celebrities. Judd Apatow, Mandy Patinkin, Rosario Dawson, Patrick Stewart. A lot of 250 celebrities. Here's the letter. True allies do not profit from anti-LGBTQ hate. We speak together with one voice to demand your companies create and enforce stronger content and ad policies to directly confront the content that is causing online and offline harm to trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people. What is the harm? What's the nature of the offense? Misgendering people, referring to people by their biological sex, and dead naming people, calling persons by their birth name rather than their invented name. And for that, these celebrities, arranged by GLAAD and the Human Rights Campaign, those organizations Bud Light supports, are demanding people be silenced online. But it's conservatives that are bringing the culture war. Okay. For more on this, pleased to be joined by Joshua Katz, former Princeton professor, now senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Joshua Katz, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Charles. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here.
Delighted to have you. So what's your reaction to what you heard from Brendan Whitworth there at Bud Light?
Well, it's very funny you should bring that up. I know you've brought me on because of a piece I wrote last week in City Journal called Corporate Culture Wars, which is basically about corporate culture meets the culture wars. And I have to admit this, in an early draft of the piece that I submitted to City Journal, I actually mentioned the Bud Light controversy a little bit. That got cut, as did a number of other things for word limit. So nice to hear this. Well, look, this is a very interesting case because, as was just pointed out, Anheuser-Busch is getting hammered from both the left and the right. I would say that regardless of one's political opinion, one probably, as a CEO or as somebody high up in a corporation, one probably doesn't want that sort of thing. So wouldn't be a bad thing to try to keep sociopolitical interests out of the boardroom.
Right, but I mean, they can't do it. They can't do it because they're under pressure from organizations like the Human Rights Campaign. You have to be an advocate to be an ally, and so they're afraid to not be labeled a non-ally. We're not afraid to ridicule their customer base, frat culture, and they're paying unforeseen consequences. Of course, they're unforeseen because there's groupthink going on there. But
that's right. Well, of course, there has to be think in the other direction as well.
But this isn't going to. My point is, though, this is not going to stop. I mean, corporate America is aligned with these left-wing advocacy organizations and afraid of them. It seems to me.
Well, that is true. Colleges and universities, about which I know something, are, corporations are, and most of America's cultural institutions are. So the question is, how do we take all of this back? Harvard came up before, thanks to the Alyssa Heinerscheid, whatever her name was.
Exactly.
Right. So she's now gone, and let's just say that Harvard is now in the news. These matters are not immediately related to one of the Supreme Court decisions yesterday, but they're not unrelated to it either. And there's going to be a sea change. It may or may not happen in my lifetime. I hope it does.
Well, what you'd say unrelated. Develop that a little. They're not unrelated, wholly unrelated.
Well, of course they're not unrelated. It's pretty easy to see what the connection is as a thread, but from a legal point of view, they're unrelated.
Right, but
they're related because everybody these days seems to be caring on one side or another about DEI initiatives, or as I tend to prefer to call them, DIE initiatives, DIE initiatives, ESG, LGBTQIA, 2S+++, etc.
We share. I did the same rearranging of the acronym that you did. Oh, that's good to know. The DIE instead of DEI. DIE is much more Dickensian, and I like that better.
Well, the other one is amusing because it's Latin, as in Dei,
as in
think of the new God. Anyway, you decide to rearrange the letters, you come up with something amusing.
So what's in your viewpoint? How much of this is driven by these leftist cultural organizations that we've been describing, and how much of it is driven by BlackRock and Vanguard and ESG?
Right. Well, I'm an academic, or at least I used to be an academic. I'm not actually an expert on corporate culture. I came into these questions through the academic world, not through the world of BlackRock and Vanguard and so on. So I'm not really the person to give you a good answer on the history of those questions. What I will say is that in my opinion, and I'm hardly alone on this, this is very much a matter from the left to which the right is reacting, contrary to what, or I shouldn't even say the right, to which the center left to the right is reacting. It's a progressive problem to which everybody else, all the people that one might call the normies, are reacting, contrary to what the progressives would like us to believe.
So there seems to be a sort of a parallel here with what happened on college campuses over the past 40 years, what's happening in corporate America. And I wonder if there are...
Not what has happened, but what is happening.
Is happening, yeah.
And it's going to continue. I mean, yesterday's ruling is, in fact, very likely to stir this up even more.
Right, and so are there lessons to be learned on how peaceful pluralist types lost any sort of standing on a college campus? There are lessons to be learned for what should be done now as it pertains to corporate America.
Well, these things take a generation or more to fix, precisely because corporate America is fed by the colleges and universities, which in turn are fed by the schools, which are going increasingly crazy as well. So there's no quick fix here. What I will say is this. In general, I think that I'm not in favor of having frivolous stockholder proposals to corporations. But I do think that the right and the center left should take a page from the progressive playbook and push ever harder in stockholder meetings and elsewhere, push ever harder for resolutions of reasonable things. And then we just see what happens. I mean, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal a couple of months ago that pointed out that even though such initiatives almost always lose, because the boards are, of course, stacked against individual stockholders, nonetheless, boards have to pay some attention if a reasonable percentage of people, say 30%, vote in favor of some proposal that the board doesn't like. Let's say some anti-DEI proposal or some anti-ESG proposal. And I think that for many things, it ought to be possible to achieve at least 30% of stockholders to vote for reasonable things.
Just to, as you said, to send a message that there are potential consequences looming if you go over the edge, like Bud Light did.
That's correct. I mean, I would love to see some of these, left to center to right proposals actually succeed, but even 30% in something like that means something, right? Anheuser-Busch doesn't want to lose 30% of its value, for example.
Joshua Katz, Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Joshua Katz, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If your money is not earning at least 5.25% tax deferred, you need to call Professional Life and Casualty. They're offering a 5.25% APY on new funds deposited into your annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA accounts. Rate subject to change. Please call to confirm. With Professional Life and Casualty, you pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Professional Life and Casualty has been providing insurance and annuity products for over 60 years. Visit plcinsurance.com. plcinsurance.com. They'll send you a free guide to tax-deferred, no-fee annuity. Earn 5.25% APY on annuity, traditional IRA, or Roth IRA. Pay no surrender charges, no administrative fees, and no withdrawal fees. Only from Professional Life and Casualty. Call 1-800-651-1800. That's 1-800-651-1800.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Amanda Zanger, owner of Black Industrial and Safety Supply in Hammond, Indiana, and a business customer of Signature Bank. Prior to owning my own business, I worked for a major financial institution. So when it came time to finance the acquisition of Black, I approached a big bank, only to receive a solid no. That's when Signature Bank stepped in. With Signature Bank, the process was different. Signature provided creative financing options that enabled me to purchase Black and continue to grow the business. Thanks to Signature Bank, Black Industrial is able to continue serving Fortune 500 industry fabricators and contractors with tools and safety supplies as we have since 1893.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire Infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
Imagine trying to eat 31 different kinds of produce in a single day. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot to me. Luckily for us, we don't have to worry about that. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies, making it the perfect, quick, on-the-go, easy solution to get more produce in your diet. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Freedom Square is an unbelievable service designed to unite freedom-loving Americans. I know these guys. They love their country and they're doing an amazing job. You can log on now to create your free personalized dashboard. All of your favorite news sites, podcasters, all on one site, all at your fingertips. Sign up your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with freedom-loving Americans. Look, people want businesses they can support. You want to know the good guys from the bad guys. That's freedomsquare.com. Log on right now and create your personalized dashboard. Join us in the fight, so check it out. freedomsquare.com. Freedom lives here.
Let's welcome our new Freedom Square Business Network members. Image One, Breakthrough Ideas, Health Insurance Mentors, and Moms for America. It's time to unite and vote with your dollars. Download the Freedom Square app and register your business right now at freedomsquare.com and start connecting with patriots. Freedom Square. Freedom lives here.
AM 560, The Answer.
Why are the military academies exempt from the Supreme Court's ruling striking down affirmative action in college admissions? Will their ruling in the college admissions case mean that diversity policies, racial quotas in the private sector will be next to fall? We'll put those legal questions and others to former Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz at 8:08. But now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Big delays could impact O'Hare travelers ahead of a busy holiday weekend. State data breach impacted hundreds of thousands of residents. NASCAR's weekend race is already wreaking havoc on Chicago commuters. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Millions of Americans are waiting for two rulings. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The Supreme Court in an hour is expected to finally decide the fate of President Biden's plan to wipe out some student loan debt for a lot of people, and there are two cases challenging it.
President Biden announced a forgiveness plan allowing as much as $20,000 in student loans for borrowers to be canceled. The debt relief is timed with the end of a loan payment pause that has allowed borrowers not to repay student loans for about 3 years. Administration officials insist the debt cancellation is legal and have not signaled signaled any plan B should the Supreme Court strike it down.
Fox's Jared Halpern. The other ruling we expect, as justices finish this Supreme Court term today, involves a Colorado website designer refusing to provide her services for same-sex weddings, citing her religious beliefs. We just got news on the economy. Consumer spending rose barely last month, 0.1%, as another gauge of prices shows inflation slowing down. France's president has just urged parents to keep their kids home tonight after many teenagers are among the hundreds arrested in 3 nights of angry protests over this week's police shooting that left a teen dead at a traffic stop. Protesters shot fireworks at cops and set more cars on fire, doing more damage to buildings in a third night of unrest that's injured more than 200 police officers. An American show of force near North Korea amid the ongoing standoff over its nuclear weapons program.
The U.S. flying long-range B-52 nuclear-capable bombers in joint aerial drills with other U.S. and South Korean fighter jets over the peninsula. The show of force taking place just days after North Korea staged massive anti-U.S. rallies with about 120,000 people in its capital of Pyongyang to mark the 73rd anniversary of the start of the Korean War.
Fox's C.J. Papa in London at Kevin Spacey's trial. A prosecutor just called the actor a sexual bully. He's charged with sexually assaulting 4 men, which Spacey denies, claiming it was consensual. America's listening to Fox News.
Hazy conditions and an expiring dense fog advisory for much of the south and western suburbs. 72 at 8:02, and the Chicago Sun-Times is reporting the search for Chicago's next top cop has been narrowed down to 6 candidates. More than 50 applied for the job. A police oversight board now has until July 14 to narrow the list to 3. Thursday, a busy day at O'Hare, and also today will be very busy at Midway as flights are canceled among record-breaking holiday travel. Nearly 400,000 Illinois residents, including several hundred here in the Chicago area, have been impacted by a recent online data breach. The state had used a third-party program called Move IT to transfer residents' information to a database. The system was breached by hackers late last month. According to Illinois officials, those impacted are being notified by mail. As Independence Day approaches, neighboring states continue to see a flow of Illinoisans crossing the border to buy fireworks. Illinois is one of only 3 states that bans some or all fireworks. Chris Brunson is with Mark's Fireworks in Indiana.
We do. We got a location, Vincennes. Our store on the west side as well. So, yes, we do. But we get plenty of locations in Indiana that gets traffic from the closest parts of Illinois. Absolutely.
Since 1942, Illinois' Pyrotechnic Use Act prohibits residents from buying or using fireworks unless they're novelty fireworks like smoke bombs or sparklers. The news, a service of Star Case. When you need to protect your valuable equipment, put it in a Star Case, the most dependable road cases you can buy. Designed and made right here in the Midwest. Go to starcase.com to order your case now. 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Today is the last trading day of the month and of the quarter. The S&P 500 is up nearly 7% for the quarter, and the NASDAQ has gained more than 11%. There could be a decision as soon as next week in the hearing over whether the government can stop Microsoft from merging with Activision Blizzard. Final arguments were heard yesterday in federal court in San Francisco. The Federal Trade Commission has argued that Microsoft would have an unfair advantage over competitors in the video game business. Inflation declined in the Eurozone this month more than expected. Its consumer price index increased 5.5% in June from over 6% in May. Wall Street will be reacting today to a key inflation reading, the PCE, Personal Consumption Expenditures Index. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka.
She'd emailed top secret government documents on an
completely unsecure network. So this felonious league is actually damaging to who? The people who actually committed crimes.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-333-1750. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-333-1750. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-333-1750. 800-333-1750.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Go with your gut. Your dog's immune system is based in the gut. A diet lacking in nutrients can cause itching, scratching, and a weak immune system. However, there is a solution. DINOVITE, Dinovite.
It took a grand total of 2 weeks. The dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Try Dinovite for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Learn more at dinovite.com/radio.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dinovite.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy. I started using Balance of Nature about 1.5 years ago. Noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
TV news. It's a love-hate relationship. Well, let's be honest, more hate. We agree. That's why we're different. Salem News Channel has assembled the greatest collection of conservative minds all in one place. Home to Charlie Kirk, Hugh Hewitt, Eric Metaxas, and more. There's finally a place on TV for lovers of freedom like you. Watch anytime, on any screen, free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
.809, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, inbound Kennedy, settling in at 46 right now from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Jamming up on the outbound Kennedy from Monroe out to Belmont and out to the big airport in 34. The Eichen, pretty hefty, 52 from 390 to the old post office. It's an hour on the inbound Stevenson from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive, all due to an accident with 2 left lanes blocked inbound near Harlem Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
More clouds than sun. It'll be humid. Afternoon thunderstorm around the area today. Distant wildfires causing poor air quality. High today 91. Thunderstorm in spots tonight, low 72. A thunder shower tomorrow, the high near 83. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
77 at O'Hare, 75 at Midway. Still fog this morning in Aurora and Romeoville. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
I have enjoyed this week, Dan.
It's been great, and we've loved having you. It's been a lot of thought-provoking conversation, and we appreciate it. And, of course, with the momentous decision by the Supreme Court yesterday, we've had a good old time poring over it today. Here's Chief Justice Roberts' key phrase in his majority opinion, striking down race-based college admissions in the Students for Fair Admissions v. Harvard College case. The Harvard and UNC, Harvard and North Carolina, admissions programs cannot be reconciled with the guarantees of the Equal Protection Clause. Both programs lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives, warranting the use of race, unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints. We have never permitted admissions programs to work in that way, and we will not do so today. Eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it, wrote Roberts for the 6-3 majority, 6-2 in the Harvard case because Kagan recused herself. The big guy, Mr. 10%, responded thusly to the decision and immediately.
Let me say this again. They should not abandon their commitment to ensure student bodies of diverse backgrounds and experience that reflect all of America. What I propose for consideration is a new standard, where colleges take into account the adversity a student has overcome when selecting among qualified applicants. Let's be clear. Under this new standard, just as was true under the earlier standard, students first have to be qualified applicants, because the truth is, we all know it, discrimination still exists in America. Discrimination still exists in America. Discrimination still exists in America. Today's decision does not change that. It's a simple fact. If a student had to overcome adversity on their path to education, the college should recognize and value that.
Setting forward a way to end run in case Harvard and other colleges needed any help, really, from President Biden, but setting up an end run around the counting by race that colleges and universities do as a matter of course. For more on the legal implications of this decision, pleased to be joined by the famed Harvard Law School professor emeritus, author most recently of Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law. He is Alan Dershowitz, and you can get his podcast, The Dersh Show, on Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes. Professor Dershowitz, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks. You know, I have no problem with the words spoken by President Biden. I think he's right. Schools can and should take into account individualized handicaps that have been overcome, individual situations of discrimination based on gender, race, or physical inabilities, etc. The problem is the schools will probably use that as a loophole through which to drive a whole football stadium of exceptions. And they're going to stick to what the Supreme Court found were essentially quotas. And when you have quotas, usually you have two elements to the quota. You have floors. That is, you never have a class with less than 10, 11, 12% African Americans. That's the floor. Then you have ceilings. You never have a class with more than a certain percentage of Asian Americans. And it was both the floor and the ceiling, but particularly the ceiling on Asian Americans, which caused the Supreme Court to come to the right decision, a decision that's been criticized by a lot of liberals, but it's a liberal decision. That's the point. It's the same view that Justice William Douglas, perhaps the most liberal justice in history, took back in the day when race-based affirmative action was still first being proposed. He said there should be affirmative action based on individual qualifications, not on racial characteristics. You don't want a situation where the wealthy child of an African-American mother who's a hedge fund person and the father who's a federal judge, but who has lower grades, to get an advantage over a kid from the Midwest whose mother died of fentanyl and who's gone through terrible, terrible situations, but who has better grades. You don't want race alone to be a determinative factor. So I think that what the president said was right, as long as it's used correctly, but I have my doubts about whether it will be used correctly.
Why were the military academies exempt? Not that not that Thomas was on board with that, but yeah, it didn't. That I don't understand that.
I don't understand it. It probably was necessary just to get a majority. It's one of these compromise things. Somebody on the court says, no, I'm not going to do it for military academies. I just don't understand the reason. One of the first integrations that occurred in the United States prior to Brown versus Board of Education was the decision to integrate the military during the Second World War and post-World War II, and that worked very, very effectively, and that has to continue to be the same. I don't think that military academies should be able to discriminate.
Right. I mean, in their amicus brief, they essentially, which Roberts referred to previously, not in this case, but they essentially said, for an increasingly diverse corps, we need an increasingly diverse officer corps. And that sort of sounds to me like, we need black officers to lead black enlisted. We need white officers to lead white enlisted. I thought the whole point is to get beyond that, like we actually have in reality.
I think that's true. My two mentors in college and law school were Telford Taylor, a former general of the United States Army, the chief prosecutor in Nuremberg. Nobody could be more waspy than that. And John Hospers, who was a great professor and a libertarian. They were not Jewish. I didn't need, even as a kid, a Jew to be a mentor to me or a role model for me. I like people being role models based on, as Martin Luther King would put it, the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I think the same is true. We don't want to encourage people to have role models based on race alone.
What do you think the implications of this case are with respect to litigation in the private sector or in K through 12 education with affirmative action and other race-based policies?
Well, it's going to be interesting because, any institution that takes federal funds, which means every university basically, is bound by this decision. But, private elementary schools are not, and many other private institutions are not. And so there'll be legislation. And the legislation is subject to constitutional analysis. So it's a work in progress. We'll have to see what happens.
With respect to one other topic before we let you go, all things Biden Inc. related, the whistleblowers from the IRS, one who's come forward and the one who hasn't, and all the detail that's been provided, and the mutually exclusive statements that have been made by the whistleblower and documented as compared to Merrick Garland per his involvement. If you're looking at this, do you see the real possibility that President Biden will be formally implicated? I mean, in other words, can Democrats continue to dance around this, or is there enough evidence now, in your view, where it's not going to go away?
I don't think there's evidence. I think there's enough suspicion, enough allegations, enough probable cause to continue an investigation. I think the key is going to be the federal judge who has to sentence Hunter Biden, I think he should refuse to accept the plea bargain, and he should call Garland and Weiss in front of him and say, look, there's a contradiction in what you said. Was there or wasn't there an investigation outside of Delaware? What, did the Justice Department preclude such an investigation? If so, the bargain's off. And go back and do an investigation and come back to me when he's completed the investigation. Will he do that? I don't know. Neither party will ask him to do it. And so you'd need an organization like Judicial Watch or some other third party to come in and request that the court reject the plea bargain, or at least postpone the plea bargain, until we answer this question about the contradictory statements between Weiss and his boss.
Does what is alleged by the whistleblower with respect to U.S. attorney in D.C. not cooperating, asking for to be granted special counsel status being denied, if those things are true, would that surprise you?
It would surprise me. I don't think it's something Garland would have necessarily approved of, but I want to hear the evidence. You know, I've known Garland slightly for many, many years, always had high regard for him. And you know, when you're in the head of the Justice Department, you don't know what's going on at the lowest level. Of course, when it's the President of the United States' son, you ought to know. So I remain open-minded about this. To me, the key question that I ask Hunter Biden when he's called in front of Congress, and he will be in front of the judiciary, is, was your father sitting next to you when you wrote that outrageous and extortionate note to a Chinese businessman? Was your father sitting next to you? Did he know what you were writing? Was he aware that you were using his name? I suspect he'll say no to all of that, but who knows?
He is Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law School professor emeritus, author most recently of Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law. And you can get his podcast, The Dersh Show, on Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes. Professor Dershowitz, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child, too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy. I started using Balance of Nature about 1.5 years ago. Noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Charles Thomas in for Amy J this week, I should say, as we're preparing for the weekend. As we're preparing for July 4th, and you're seeing a lot of local coverage, remembering the shooting that happened at the Highland Park 4th of July parade last year, the terrible murder of 7 people, I think I'm remembering correctly. Remember something else. These pieces, again, beating the drum for banning certain sports rifles based on how they look and otherwise decrying people who respect an individual's right to protect themselves. Just one of these incidents that gets underreported. It did get reported locally, so I'll give the network affiliates in Houston credit for reporting it, probably because the security video leaked out and went viral. This is a man and a woman. The woman is pregnant, 8 months pregnant. Stop at a convenience store to pick up a couple of items, and 2 thieves happen upon them, armed. And this is how it went down.
Very disturbing. We've learned the woman who they first tried to rob here in this parking lot is 8 months pregnant and due in 2 weeks. At the time her husband was inside this store, police now tell us that she and her husband both had guns of their own and exchanged gunfire with the 2 men.
She was in her car. She saw 2 males get out of 2 cars next to her that had guns. They started approaching her car. She called her husband, who was in the store, and said that she thought she was about to be robbed.
It happened at the store on Fulton and Berry at about 7 last night. Once the woman called her husband, he rushed outside with his own gun. They say the woman also had a gun. They say the 2 men tried to rob the woman, and that's when there was an exchange of gunfire between the men and the couple. 1 man was shot multiple times, taken to the hospital, but is expected to survive.
The other suspect jumped into what we believe was a green Charger and fled the location. Our investigators are en route to the scene. They'll talk to the witnesses. I believe there might be surveillance video at the store, and they'll review that.
So one of the thieves comes up to the woman. She calls her husband. He comes out. The guy hits him. Then she pulls out her gun, and there's this exchange of gunfire. And she, the pregnant woman, shoots one of the assailants, injuring him, as you heard from the local reporting there. And the other guy takes off, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I just say again, all cliches are true. Good guy with a gun. And just something to consider, equalization of power when it comes to protecting oneself. A woman who's 8 months pregnant to able to defend herself and her husband against armed assailants.
And they won.
And they won. Thankfully, they did. So just, part of the leavening with respect to this conversation, rather than just the sentimental silliness that you get from these gun banners who think they can wave a wand and eliminate the need and right of people to protect themselves.
It's interesting. I hadn't heard that story.
Coming up at 8:38, we'll take your views on the stories of the day, including the seminal Supreme Court decision that was handed down yesterday and the ones expected today, both with respect to religious freedom as well as Mr. 10%'s loan forgiveness program. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. It is Open Mic Friday at 8:38, taking your calls with comments, compliments, criticisms, general crack pottery. We'll take it all. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
72, and there still is some fog in the far southwest suburbs this morning, even though the dense fog advisory has expired. 8:30 on AM 560, The Answer. Violent protests sweeping across France after a 17-year-old was shot dead by police Tuesday. More than 400 were arrested overnight, the third night in a row of violent protests following the shooting. The Supreme Court will rule today on two cases involving President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan and another concerning protections for those looking for religious rights to be protected. The case was brought by a Colorado web designer who argued she has a First Amendment right to refuse to design websites for same-sex weddings. A Christian mailman from Pennsylvania who refused to work on Sundays has won his religious freedom lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court. Gerald Groff was represented by the First Liberty Institute.
It's a huge win for religious Americans, really from all faiths.
That's attorney Kayla Toney, who says many different religious groups filed briefs in the case arguing current employment standards are harmful to religious freedom. The Sun-Times says it's reporting that the search for Chicago's next top cop has been narrowed to 6 candidates. More than 50 applied for the job vacated by former Mayor Lori Lightfoot nominee David Brown. Thursday, a busy day, even busier today at O'Hare and Midway because of heavy travel and flight cancellations. More than a dozen Chicagoans are facing federal charges for allegedly running an open-air drug market on the northwest side. It was near West Chicago and North Trumbull, and federal prosecutors say 13 defendants identified as part of the traveling Vice Lord street gang sold cocaine, crack, heroin, and fentanyl in plain sight. After nearly 50 dogs were taken in earlier this week, DuPage County Animal Services will waive adoption fees for large dogs due to overcrowding. The shelter in Wheaton received 47 dogs. Some of those could be euthanized if they are not adopted. White Sox beat the Angels in Anaheim 9-7. Cubs lost to the Phillies 3-1. The Blackhawks bring in MVP Corey Perry in a deal with Tampa Bay yesterday. However, he becomes an unrestricted free agent tomorrow. But the Blackhawks have plenty of cap space to try to hammer out a deal today. The news, a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher explains Trump's surge.
Sunday morning shows yesterday, they're all in various levels of hysteria over Trump. They cannot figure out why he keeps surging in popularity. They don't even understand it. Newsflash, Americans are rejecting the politically motivated prosecution that he's undergoing.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. There aren't many people who would knowingly leave their job to start another job for a 30% cut in pay. And yet, people do it every day when they enter retirement. Why enter the exciting new chapter of your life with less money? Why trade the stress of work for more stress in retirement? Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help. Just call Tom at 630-934-1855 for your complimentary, customized retirement. It addresses many of the big questions you may have, like what to do about Social Security, managing your investments, and how to create income you can never outlive. You can downsize your house, but don't downsize your lifestyle. Get a complimentary, customized retirement plan at 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. That's alphawealthgroup.com.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, RWA, an SEC registered investment advisor. RWA and Alpha Wealth Group are independent of each other. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
There is a great awakening happening. Patriots are revolting against woke companies crashing their sales and stock prices by taking their business elsewhere. The mobile phone companies are no different, which is why I want you to make the switch to Patriot Mobile today like I did. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative cell phone company. Imagine getting dependable nationwide coverage on one of the big three mobile networks and simultaneously supporting free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, the Second Amendment, and our military, veterans, and first responder heroes. That's exactly what you get with Patriot Mobile. Their 100% US-based customer support team makes the switching easy. Keep your phone, keep your number, and choose from the best network in your area. It's that simple. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Gorka or call 878-PATRIOT. Get free activation and a performance guarantee today with offer code Gorka. We are making a difference. Join me and make the switch today. patriotmobile.com/Gorka, 878-PATRIOT.
8:36. Let's get an update on the roads now. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is service of Discover credit cards. They do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right, everything you've earned doubled. See terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match. Inbound Kennedy seeing some falling travel times right now, down to 48 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. To Sabo Lakeshore Drive, problem southbound between Randolph and McFetridge. It's closed off due to that ongoing NASCAR street race this weekend, also causing problems on Michigan Avenue this morning. Problems on the Reagan I-88 as you roll eastbound between Roosevelt and the Tri-State merge to the northbound Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. More clouds than sun, humid today. We'll see pop-up thunderstorms and a high of 91. 77 right now, but again, still fog in Joliet and Aurora. And your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
It's that time of the week. This will be a treat for you, Charles Thomas.
Hey, you know what? I just want to tell you, man, how much. Thank you for allowing me to sit here this week.
Thank you.
And I want you to know how much you and Amy are appreciated as far as the conversation that goes on in our area, in our region, in the country, really. Because without your voice, we don't hear a conversation. And I just want you to know that.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
I remain a huge fan of the Morning Answer, and keep up the wonderful, wonderful work.
Well, we appreciate it. I know Amy does as well, and we have great respect and affinity for you, so it's always great to have you on the show as a commentator or as a guest host, as we have many times now, and this was a great week. I had so enjoyed our conversations, and it was great that people could hear more. You know, you've been a reporter for a long time, but you're not reporting on yourself. So hear more about your life experience and what you've done and what you think about the issues of the day. I think it's been outstanding. And so we're honored to have you here for the week. And before you get too enamored with the deep thinking that is done on this show, I just wanted to alert you. I don't know if you've heard, it's Pride Month. So for people who haven't heard it, it is Pride Month. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure people.
Well, it's today. It's gone, man.
Well, it's still June.
Midnight.
Yeah. Well, let's
We're done.
Well, let's update our vocabulary again before the clock strikes midnight. Please use the term bonus hole for vagina going forward.
What kind of?
The bonus hole. You're not familiar with this?
No. I'm not.
A bonus hole. I mean, what is with the scoffing? This is serious business. This is how we communicate with one another. Bonus hole is the more inclusive term for vagina, recommended by the LGBT Foundation. Ollie London, a registered, certified non-binary social media influencer, so an authority. The LGBT Foundation recommends people use the word bonus hole instead of vagina in order to avoid upsetting trans people. If incorrect language is used without being corrected, it can cause someone to feel hurt or distress, which may lead them to leave and to eventually seek support elsewhere. So while they understand that people make mistakes, purposeful misgendering of an individual, dead naming, as we talked about with Joshua Katz and all the Hollywood celebrities calling on people who misgender or dead name to be silenced, I assume that will ultimately include people who refer to female sex organ, the vagina, as anything other than the bonus hole.
Well, I mean, it's a lot easier for you to do that item with me here as opposed to Amy.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. All right, taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Obviously, there's the serious discussion of Supreme Court rulings, and then there are the stories like this, like the national crisis over the shortage of sriracha sauce and other things. And we take all comments on all topics on this during this segment. Rick in Downers Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, Dan, Charles.
Good morning.
Hey, Charles, you wouldn't know this, but Dan and Amy can attest to this. When I call in, I'm a people person. I want to help. I want to be a solution, not a problem.
Yeah.
And I want to apply that. Oh, yeah, I want to apply that to the LGBTQ, AEIOU, and sometimes Y community. And that community believes there's, like 15, 20,000 different genders. Yet, when they transition, they go from man to woman, woman to man. I want to expand their horizons and help them think outside the box. Like, for instance, if you're going to transition, maybe you should think about transitioning into like a 2x4 or maybe a caterpillar or even a circus peanut. And I'm hoping that there's somebody out there listening to the radio right now that's saying to himself, I always identified as a circus peanut. Now I have to drive to transition into that circus peanut. And someday I want to be able to walk down any street USA, see a circus peanut walking my way, and turn to my family and friends and tell them I had a lot to do with that. And the look on their faces is all the payment I need to know once again I have helped society become a little bit better. I got to hang up now because I'm going to start crying. You guys have a good weekend.
Thanks for the call, Mr. Peanut. We appreciate that. He's talking about somebody identifies. I think it's Rick who might identify as the circus peanut. Karen in Beecher.
Oh, good morning, my dears. And now I'm hungry for circus peanuts.
Of course.
But I just wanted to tell you both again, I have asthma, so it's been very hard to breathe this week. But your excellent example of journalism and conversation has offered me so many deep breaths. And I just want to commend you. God bless you, and thank you for everything you do.
Thanks for the call, Karen. Hear that, Charles? We save lives.
Yeah, man, I tell you. It's very
this show is medicinal.
It absolutely is.
Therapeutic. Tom, Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Charles. Always a little hope for some levity getting into the weekend. But this Scott Peterson guy in Florida, I'll tell you what, if there's a more loathsome human being out there, this fellow celebrates after his cowardice, and I wish I had opportunities in the past where I had acted with more fortitude. But this son of a b, this is what's wrong with America. As we get into the 4th of July, just hoping this country can find some more fortitude than cowards like that watch children die and then celebrate and offer to visit with the families. Happy 4th on that one.
Thanks for the call, Tom. So, of course, he's talking about Scott Peterson, the Parkland school resource officer who did not go into the school when it was being shot up by the mass shooter. 17 people were killed. He was charged multiple counts of child endangerment and other related charges and acquitted. And I'm not surprised he was acquitted. We didn't really spend much time on that. We had a lot to talk about. But I wasn't really surprised he was acquitted. The Supreme Court's been pretty clear on this, as much as it may pain people to hear, but police have no duty to protect. They do not have a legal duty to intervene.
Very legal duty.
Yes. Yeah. And so, right. So we're talking about what Tom was saying about the demonstration of courage. You know what your responsibilities are. You know what the sort of moral and cultural expectation is. And Scott Peterson behaved unconscionably on that day, in my view, but that doesn't make him legally culpable. May be unfortunate, but the idea of making of stripping police of their immunity and making them legally culpable for failure to respond opens up a whole other area that is problematic. And so you expect people that wear the uniform to act heroically, and most of the time that's what you see. But there are instances when it's not what you see.
Where's Wyatt Earp when you need him?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Maybe a Tombstone this weekend.
Oh, I love that.
Great movie.
It's classic.
Yeah. Frank, Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. Dan, as Charles said, you have such a great show and a wide audience and so forth. And I think one of the things that you're going to have to do over the next year as we go into this election is go more full Soren Kierkegaard and
really?
talk about his leap of faith. And you're going to have to convince more and more moderates and Democrats to take the leap of faith and vote for the Republican this year.
Yep.
Because our country is doomed. But
well, I am I am half Danish, Kierkegaard.
Ooh.
Danish philosopher.
There you go.
So I'm half Danish.
Maybe you're. Yeah. You never know. Maybe you're related to him somehow. Who knows? But I want to talk about Darien, Illinois today.
Okay.
Darien, Illinois is named after Darien, Connecticut, which is named after the Darien Gap, which is in the Panamanian Isthmus. So all of your listeners who live in Darien, they're really named after the Darien Gap, where it comes from.
Yeah.
And then the Stevenson Expressway, that is named after.
What isthmus is the Stevenson named after? Yes. No, go ahead.
Yes, that is named after Adlai Stevenson.
Yes.
The second, who was the governor of Illinois from 1949 to 1953. But why is that highway, I-55, named Stevenson? Why wasn't it one of the others? Do you have any idea about that? I know it's kind of obscure. But...
Charles Thomas is the Chicago historian here, so I'm going to.
Oh, really?
Why was that expressway named the Stevenson and not any of the others?
Because that leads straight to his hometown of Bloomington, Illinois, which is where he grew up, and kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. He actually, as a kid, had a gun accident, and there was a gun that was fired, and a girl got killed, and he had to think how that affected his psyche. It was just an accident, but somebody else had left a gun loaded and got fired, and kid got killed. And you have to wonder sometimes that these presidents and senators and everybody else, the stuff that happens in their lives, how it affects them just psychologically.
Well, that is
tragedy.
Yeah. So Adlai Stevenson II was also what, in a political sense?
He was
Frank.
UN ambassador. He ran for president twice.
There you go.
Against Eisenhower.
Yeah.
His grandfather, Adlai Stevenson I, was vice president under Grover Cleveland in his second term.
That's right, and he lost obviously both times to Eisenhower. But there was a great Adlai Stevenson story that's applicable to politics today. Nothing new in this world.
You're asking me about expressways, man. I'm still trying to figure out why they call it the bonus hole.
It's a bit of a brain teaser.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, I get it. But that's but we tried to do some learning on the show. Frank helps out. But Adlai Stevenson, he gives this rousing speech at a union hall, and he gets off the stage and he asks his aides, "How did I do?" And his aides, and then Adlai Stevenson says to his aide, "How did I do?" And the aide says, "You were a great senator, but I think you need to, bring down the sort of intellectual level of your rhetoric. You need to make it more accessible to people." And Adlai Stevenson says, "Yeah, well, this is for, my candidacy is for the informed electorate." And then his aide said to him, "Yeah, well, that's not going to be enough." And so, applicable maybe to today when you're driving down the Stevenson Expressway, you can think about Adlai Stevenson and that
and
little
all those
vignette.
and all those windmills along the Stevenson or I-55, and how that's an elitist scam, essentially.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah. The elitism in Illinois on the left extends way back. Thanks for the call, Frank. Appreciate it. Ralph in Wilmette.
Hey, Charles, it's been a pleasure listening to you this week.
Thank
How you doing, Dan? Thanks for taking the call. The renaming of bonus hole, that kind of the headline stole the story. What is people could get if they read further down is that they also try to rename, your basic twig and berries. It's no longer the penis and testicles. It's now the Mr. Happy and the Boys. The only way I can remember the term bonus hole is to think again of the term same player shoots again. But y'all have a nice holiday weekend.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Yeah. Well, I knew I was, opening the bonus hole there with the reference. So. Yeah. All right. Bob, Buffalo Grove, get us out of this.
Good morning, Dan, and good to hear you this week, Mr. Thomas.
Oh, good morning.
I was going to weigh in on the Supreme Court decision, but you addressed many of the key talking points. So let me kind of switch the topic to Biden and him touting his great economy, Bidenomics, low unemployment, job creation, reducing the deficit. I have a question for you, Dan, and maybe you, Mr. Thomas. Earlier this week, you noted we had 2.5 million immigrants coming into the country. Just this year, how many of those people are working, are of working age, and what are they doing for work, and how are they reflected in the unemployment numbers? Anybody got any answers?
Well, thanks for the call, Bob. They're not reflected in the unemployment numbers. They're whether they're working or not working, that's obviously uneven. You have a federal government that can't even keep track of where the got away to. You have people on the terrorist watch list that have entered this country and disappeared. So, the data and sort of the net impact is hard to exactly discern because of the lawlessness at the border, because of the blithe approach that's being taken. So, which I think sort of speaks for itself, starting with incidents of criminal conduct. But I know there's stories of people that come over here and they work while they're awaiting the adjudication of their asylum applications and so forth. It runs the gambit. But even though there are some people behaving in a law-abiding way, in a productive way, that doesn't justify having no controls at the border. That's the point. It's not trying to vilify anybody. It's just saying this is not a system that makes any sense. Email, actually. A bonus hole sounds like a Dunkin' Donuts promo. It does. It does sound like a Dunkin' Donuts promo. Dominic, Park Ridge.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey,
Thanks
Tom.
for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hey, you were talking about the expressways, and then you talk about the bonus hole and all that. I'm a bus driver for Pace, and the expressways were supposed to be paid for to build a train from the Blue Line to go all the way down 90 to Wisconsin back in the 90s, early 90s. So then they scrapped that one, and they put just so they couldn't, because they couldn't afford it. because they were spending all of the transit money.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hey, are you gonna make that turn? Are you gonna make that turn or?
What's that?
No, I heard your turning signal going off. I just wanted to make sure you didn't miss that turn. Yeah.
No, I'm not in the bus. I'm in a car that relieves the driver.
Oh, okay. All right.
So anyways, they were talking about the donut hole, and how about booty juice?
Booty juice.
Yeah, did you hear about Biden calling Buttigieg booty juice? Did you hear that? It was hilarious.
That's not bad. I think that's better than pea butt. My preferred.
I laughed for an hour. He called him booty juice. Thank you, booty juice. But anyways, the thing is, and now we're getting into.
All right.
Real quick, we're getting into the immigration. I get at least 30 to 40 per night with visas, Bank of America cards for free that they get to go to all these hotels and motels that I drive them to every night, all night long.
Interesting.
Oh, there's hundreds of them going from Rosemont, Elk Grove, and Bensonville.
Really? Thanks for the call, Dominic. Appreciate it. That's interesting. Not surprising, but it's good to have the details. Marie, Union Grove, Wisconsin.
Hello, good morning. I was talking with a coworker Wednesday, and she and her husband worked hard and put their children in private Catholic schools, and then she told me she eventually took them out because more and more, I don't know if it was voucher students, but she said the school wasn't allowed anymore to enforce like morals and a dress code and things like that, and that one of the parents went to a meeting that was supposed to be for only the voucher students and parents, and when they found out she wasn't, they said, oh, this was only going to be for the voucher students, and somewhere along the line they heard that the reason they want more voucher students, they didn't want to hear from the other parents because they get almost twice as money with the voucher program. And they had promised they were going to keep the principal, and they didn't. And then certain teachers left. I guess they didn't like the environment anymore. I just want to ask if I know you always have so much to talk about, but maybe this is something you can look into and talk with us about too.
Okay, thanks for the call, Marie. We'll take a look at that story up your way. Appreciate it. Chuck and Delavan to close it out.
Hey, first time caller, long time listener. Thanks for mentioning my band of pop-up thunderstorms. Everybody get out this weekend. Happy 4th of July. Tonight, huge party downtown Delavan, Pete's Parkside. They're blocking off the street. Starts at 4, and it's going to go all the way until 12 o'clock tonight. So everybody get out. I can't mention all the other stuff because I ain't got enough time, but you guys have a great weekend. And Charles, you did an excellent job. It was a really good, I listened to every minute of the show this week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No, thank you.
Thanks for the call, Chuck. Appreciate it. Have fun this weekend. I'm sure Charles will be venturing up to Wisconsin to meet you.
President Joe Biden.
Thank you, Secretary Buttigieg.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
It's summertime, and you want to keep the shop, warehouse, and other doors open for ventilation. Air circulation improves the well-being of your employees and customers, but open doors can let in the uninvited, like strangers, birds, rodents, and bugs. Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. can help solve the problem with a full line of commercial screen door products designed with these specific problems in mind. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. now. Also, regular scheduled maintenance is the key, and Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. has multiple levels of maintenance programs for your company's needs and budget. They'll ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification to increase the useful life of your doors. Visit their website to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there to assist in designing a solution that works best for you. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
AM 560, The Answer.
Charles Thomas pulled a Joe Biden on me. He just sort of walked off the set before the show's over, just like Biden did with Nicole Wallace. No, he's got places to be. I get it. He spent enough time with me this week. He's had enough. All right, thanks so much to Charles Thomas, of course, all week. It's been great. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday in advance of the 4th. There's Charles Thomas. All right. Wait, thanks for coming back. All right, so we got the official send-off now. We'll turn it over to Mike Scott for the headline.
Delays impacting O'Hare travelers ahead of a busy weekend. WIND Chicago news time is 9.
It's worth thousands for millions. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Supreme Court rulings we're expecting in just a few minutes on President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan that's been challenged in 2 cases.
Supporters say because so many borrowers are behind in payments, 52% are underwater, meaning they owe more today than they originally borrowed, hurting their ability to start a family, buy a house, grow the economy. But critics say that loan was a choice, and those who did not pay for their education or did not have to attend college or did pay should not have to pay for others' mistakes.
Fox's William Lajeunesse. Another ruling we're expecting as the court ends its term is a challenge to Colorado's anti-discrimination law. A website designer doesn't want to provide services for same-sex weddings, citing her religious beliefs. Several Republicans running for president are in Philadelphia at a summit for the group Moms for Liberty, which is countering what it sees as a leftist movement in schools.
The only reason you would not want the parents involved and that you'd want to shut them off from knowing the curriculum is because you're worried that the parents represent an impediment to you using the schools to advance your agenda.
That's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a few moments ago.
The event has been met with protests by some LGBTQ and trans organizations. The DNC releasing a statement calling the group the, quote, most notorious anti-freedom, history-erasing, book-banning groups.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. In France, President Macron's trying to prevent a 4th night of this. Angry protests over this week's police shooting that left a teenager dead. Crowds shot fireworks at cops. More than 200 officers have been injured. Hundreds of demonstrators have been arrested, and many of them are teenagers. So President Macron is urging parents to keep them home. He also says social media is stoking the anger, wanting companies to take down sensitive content. We're just getting a report that Alan Arkin has died at the age of 89. The actor was in a lot of movies, winning an Oscar for his role in Little Miss Sunshine.